Just doesn't look right. Welcome to Supercross Live here on supercrossonline.com, and you're looking at the Rogers Center here in Toronto. The largest floor gym I think that we have. Kevin Barnett and Jim Holley are ready to bring you all the action here from Toronto. Dirt just starting to groove into shape. Going to be a very interesting track. You can see it's quite large. Lap times for the just concluded 250C group running in the 107. So you won't see any of that 45-second lap times we've had in races past.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer lap times here tonight for the guys. But, you know, something I've noticed about the track as we saw that live shot of the track, that the track looks a lot drier than in years past. I mean, obviously they didn't have the winter that they've had in the years past because, I mean, sometimes when you're down there walking on the track, it's like a sponge, you know, but today I think it's going to be great. Not as many ruts. I think it's going to be a good night of racing.
I just ran into Tony Alessi, who will be joining us later here on the program from Moto Concepts, and he said that he feels like it's a Daytona-type track. He feels like it's that type of soil, kind of a sandy composition.
Yeah, but I mean, if you remember, Daytona got really grooved up in some of those corners and things like that. I don't think we're going to see that here. But, you know, I think that tonight we got a real nice set of whoops. I mean, a lot of the C guys were having some problems in those whoops, as well as the A and B riders. I mean, it's going to be a tough section of whoops tonight.
You got to look at it here live. Let's take a look at it now on our Kawasaki track map, an opportunity to watch the Aero get around this track.
Well, and like we had last week in Indy, we got a long starting line going into a left-hander that
are
a little
they
bit wider.
Fourth gear by the time you're at the end of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're in fourth gear when they round that. And then you come out of there, it's a nice little timing section. And then here's going to be the first set of whoops, that the gnarliest that they have tonight here. And this is going to play into the rider's hands. It's step on, step off. After that, you know, the little timing section. But a lot of passing in these 180s. I like these, you know, where guys can get underneath guys and push them out of the way. Another step on, step off. Another opportunity to pass, and then you get into this sand section here. Not as many rollers, though, but it's needless to say.
Not terribly deep.
No, it's we've seen some other ones, and then after that you got the nice 65-foot triple, another right-hander across the starting line, and here you're going to come into a 180, and then not quite as tough of whoops right here as you go back across the starting line again. But this section here, we've seen it a lot. There's a timing section there, and then
Yeah, there's some slight differences there, Jim, because you do have a timing section following that smaller section of whoops. And what happens is these track maps get drawn up and produced, and then when they come to the stadium, there are some slight alterations made. As you look at the 250A guys getting ready to go out on the track.
Yeah, that's Zach Bell. Notice how they're all collapsed. Look at their front fenders, how far away the front fender is away from the front wheel. They're already collapsed, ready to go down into that first turn, and probably makes it a little easier for Zach Bell to kickstart his motorcycle at that point.
Too many jokes for Zach Bell about his size. If Zach Bell would stay on the bike more often, I think you would hear less of those kinds of quotes.
You know what I used to do when we're like this, when I used to ride, I used to just go. Hey, it pissed off the AMA. I thought he said we could go.
250A group practice number 1. Time practice number 1. You have the 19 of Will Hahn right there, and just cutting underneath with the hand guards is Blake Wharton on that 13. Of course, Blake Wharton coming off of a 14.5 lap lead, and then throwing it away in the whoops and coming up short last week. And to add insult to injury, not only did Blake Wharton not win the race, but then he was docked positions for cutting the track.
Yeah, and he wasn't too happy about that. Did an interview with him earlier on the track walk, you know, 5 positions. He was thinking, yeah, maybe 1 or 2, but not 5, and dropped him all the way to 9th. And this is Will Hahn. This is that whoop section that we were talking about. And then you're going to come into this corner where you can go inside, and it's going to be a double, triple that middle section, but they're not doing it, or triple out. There's a couple different ways you can do that, and then back down the starting line, and then into the left hand, and then up and over the, a little bit too much throttle for Blake Wharton there coming out of that one.
We've seen 3 different rhythms through that last rhythm section before the start finish, so that's definitely an area to keep your eye on when you're watching practice and when you're watching the race tonight live on Speed at 7:30 Eastern. Kevin Windham again sitting in, so we don't think we'll see him here on our program. You will get an opportunity to hear from Kevin on the Speed program. But that rhythm section, you can go, I've seen Marvin Muskin inside of one practice do it. Triple, triple, single, double, triple, double, or double, double, triple.
The only thing I don't like about what Marvin Muskin was doing for the triple, triple, single is you got to go so far outside that you're leaving the door open for somebody to come underneath there and make a block pass on you.
On the entry to that.
Yep.
Here is Blake Wharton. He's just about to enter that section we're talking about here out of this left-hander.
That looked like Will Hahn there down where he just passed him. Was that Will or Blake?
That looks like a Geico rider. It looks like
Will Hahn.
Will Hahn.
He obviously must have got off coming out of that whoop section right there. He just kind of caught a glimpse of the orange, and it was Will Hahn.
Well, those whoops they did not look too intimidating when you just stared at them, but I think out of that short corner is why they seem to be a factor, Jim, because it looked like the riders just weren't able to carry speed.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, to get into that corner and get the speed coming out of it and hang on to that thing there. That's Cole Thompson, one of the only Canadians. Him and Nick Beattie are the only two Canadians that are entered into this race here in Toronto.
Remember, you can interact with us during this show today via social media, either facebook.com/supercrosslive or twitter.com/supercrosslive.
Now Wharton went down in that corner there after the sand there, so a lot of guys losing the traction on the rear wheel there. If we pan back, maybe we'll see Wharton. And nope, he's already up and gone.
Yeah, the soil looking soft in many of the corners. Ryan Villapoto during his first untimed practice was railing the outside, throwing a sprinkler of roost.
There's that triple double now where we saw some of the other guys doing it a little bit different there, but the lap time's now a 1:01.9 for Blake Wharton. That's the fastest so far, so considerably they knocked off a lot of time compared to that other B practice.
Moto Concepts Gavin Faith there, 67, who we haven't heard a lot from after Arlington. Came out, won a heat race, but Gavin's kind of faded from the front of the pack.
That's too bad because, like you had mentioned, Arlington, he came out firing. I mean, you're thinking, wow, this kid here, he wants to be a contender for the championship. But after that, just kind of, he's still been in the top 10, but he's just not up there battling for podiums.
Right, 8th last week for Gavin Faith. In fact, Gavin's best finish of the year has been 7th. He's done that twice. That was off the first two, but finished 19th in Daytona.
Yeah, where you looked at that heat race and you think, man, this kid's going to be in the top 5 every weekend battling, and like you said, a couple 7th, a 19th, 8th last week. Not good finishes for him.
Early update on the times finds the usual suspects up front. Points leader Will Hahn with a 1.4, followed by Marvin Muskin at 1:01.7, Blake Wharton 1:01.9. But times will be changing. Expect them to change rapidly here in practice number 1, time practice number 1, as the riders get a feel for the track conditions.
There's Lance Vinson, 87 there, kind of on a hot lap there now, cooling it down. He sits in about 8th right there. There's Marvin Muskin. This guy's on fire right now. I mean, he did it both ways, Whole shot at Daytona, led every lap, wins it. Last weekend he does the complete opposite. Dead last in the first turn, comes up and wins it. So he's done it both ways, and he's carrying in a 2-race win streak here. We'll see if he can make it 3 in a row in Toronto.
The calm and the confidence with which Marvin Muskin has ridden the last couple of weeks has been showing through practice early on here in Toronto. Just has very nice style on the bike, Jimmy. Looks like he's just the right size, just the right strength for that motorcycle.
Yeah, he's perfect. I mean, you look at some guys that are a little too small for a 250F. They're a little too big. There's a guy that had a good ride, Justin Hill last week, a 5th for him, and some consistent finishes.
Justin Hill has looked good early on. We'll see how he progresses through our program and through the qualifying process.
Oh, someone just threw it away.
Oh, just as we said, it looks like Marvin Muskin down. Coming out of that rhythm section we were talking about.
And he's shaking his head. He's getting the cobwebs out of his head right now. He's not moving. Yeah, he's shaking his head. That's that section where you said he was tripling, and maybe the last triple he came up a little short. Good sign he got up and walked off on his own, but he's still rattled a little. Eddie Casillas from the Asterix mobile medical unit over there kind of talking to him, saying, hey, you all right? Where you at?
Good to see Marvin up and walking, but you wonder with the amount of head shaking, if he did hit his head, what kind of testing will go on if he'll be able to get right back on the bike.
Well, I'm sure that Eddie's down there, asking him a series of questions. Obviously, where are you at? And if he can say,
Marvin back on the bike now. Let's take a look at what happened.
Yeah, just like I said, he cased that triple, and that was it. He just didn't have enough, and he got piled in. The bike missed him, which was a good thing. But getting back to Eddie, they'll ask him a few things, and he'll say, "Where are you at?" And if he says, I'm at a Supercross racetrack, then the next question will be, "No, but where are you at? What city or what country?" And if he says, "I'm in Toronto, Canada," that's a good sign then. But if he doesn't know, they'll go back and they'll do that concussion head injury test on him and make sure that he's okay and can compete tonight.
Marvin now in the mechanics area. Was able to remount the bike and make his way to the mechanics area, and he actually still sits in third with his time of 1:01.7. But Will Hahn still up there with a 1:04. So it's Hahn, Wharton, Muskin, Dakotas, who's been riding well as of late, Freezy, Faith, Catanzaro. AJ Catanzaro coming off a career best fourth, Cole Thompson, Jeremy Martin, and Lance Vincent as we look at Dakotas.
Yeah, Jimmy Dakotas riding really well right now. Riding with a lot of let's see what he does. We went off of him. There's Will Hahn going through the sand. There's Jimmy. He's going to triple, double, and that's right where Marvin messed up. Marvin came up short a little bit, and that timing section, there's no room for error. I mean, if you come up short, you have no run out. You have to do it perfect to land in order to get out of it, and you saw what happened if you don't do that with Marvin Muskin.
Marvin consulted with the mechanics. Looks like he is going to take his bike up the tunnel, and hopefully we will see him for practice number 2. So Marvin Muskin, an early practice crash here in session number 1. Definitely the hottest rider as of late. We'll see if he is able to return. And there is Kyle Peters on the ground. So first and second place now down from last week. Well, Peters looks to be collecting himself just fine. Yeah, that is coming out of the whoop section.
Yeah, what a great ride for Kyle Peters, to get that podium finish last week, the best of his career. First time he's been on the podium with a second.
45 seconds remain as you see the yellow flags wave over that whoop section. Peters collecting himself at the end. Jim, we see a couple of riders down early here in this 250A practice. Do you think any of this has to do with the track, changes in the track, conditions, meaning the soil itself?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like last week in Indy, you had some pretty good traction out there, a little bit of moisture, and now the track's a little bit loose, and a lot of these guys are grabbing a handful of throttles. But that wasn't the case with Marvin Muskin. I mean, that was just a timing section that he mistimed and went down. The whoops here are pretty tough. That's where we saw, especially as we're watching Vince Freezy there, you get into the whoops and you're good the first half of them. It's that second half where you start running out of that momentum and the rear wheels, starting to spin a little bit and the front end starts to drop. You're trying to keep that front end light going across those. I like this whoop section. I mean, not the whoops, the sand right there. It's pretty cool when you get into it. It's nice and flat, but when you shut off, there's some braking bumps. The bike's changing around, and Vince Freeze looks like he's on a hot lap right now.
It looks like a lot of these corners are starting to rut up quite a bit. It looks like there might be a couple of different lines. We saw in that first practice riders taking a few different lines, especially the inside off of the finish line. Inside and outside definitely viable.
Jimmy Dakotas waving on Vince Freeze, waving him by, say, hey, I know you're on a hot lap. Let's see if Freezy moved up. He's in 6th right now.
Looks like Vince Freezy will remain in 6th. Will Hahn with the checkered flags waving. Checkered flag is out. Will Hahn, 1 minute and 0.2 seconds So just better than his early on lap. Will Hahn is your leader here in the 250 class, followed by Blake Wharton. And then Jimmy Dakotas on that 613 ride, 101.6.
There's Stephen Clark, Scuba Steve, on the Shea Racing National Switchgear ride right there.
We had Adam Toppy on this program, his team manager, just last week. So Hahn, Wharton, Dakotas, Muskin, who left after that crash, Canton Zaro, your top 5, followed by Freezy, Faith, Thompson, Hill, that would be Justin Hill, Jeremy Martin, Zach Freeberg, then Peters, Oldenburg, Vincent, Richardson, Kilbarger, Clark, and Larson. 19 riders in that session. For this round in Canada, there are 44 entries into the 250 class and 36 entries into the 450 class, so a lighter than usual amount of riders. We look at the 450A group getting ready to go out, and they are underway. Ryan Dungey in there, Les Smith in there. Get a look at the 51 of Justin Barsha, who likes to be up front here in just a second, I'm sure. And Justin Barsha, Jim, making sure that the fans who decided to show up for practice got their money's worth early on. He was throwing some huge whips over the far triple.
Yeah. There's Andrew Short now on his KTM.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter. You can hashtag Supercross Live or hashtag SX on Speed. Follow us at Supercross Live and ask us some questions about the track, about the riders, about the trip here to Canada, about the best Italian place to eat if you happen to be in the Toronto area. Any one of those things, Jim.
Pizza Rustica comes to mind. These guys kind of just, you know, there's Andrew, nice seat bounce right there to get that triple. You know, and when you do that, you know, you want that extra weight to collapse that rear shock spring to rebound you up and over and loft you over that triple. But Andrew's got to have a good ride. He's kind of been okay, you know, but he hasn't had that top 5, you know, that he's capable of doing. I think he's still getting a little bit used to that KTM.
Well, first time Andrew Short's been on a 450 KTM. He had
that
a
was
KTM
huge right there.
Before, right?
That triple that Andrew just pulled right there was huge. I saw Will Hahn do it, triple the first part of it, but not enough torque and power to do that second triple, but Andrew did that. That's that big triple you were talking about where we saw in the free practice Justin Barsha putting in some huge whips. There's the man leading the points right now.
The champ. That red background looks at home on that number 1 bike. Of course, 2-time defending champion of Monster Energy Supercross.
I'm curious to see what he does after the whoops. There's James Stewart, man who was leading it last week for a few laps, ended up 3rd on the podium.
A 3-race win streak right now for Ryan Villapoto, and James Stewart has to feel like he could have broken that up last week had he not stalled it and then off-camber turn. Yeah,
triple also for James Stewart in that section. So that's going to be the fast way around it. A triple as he's coming up on Dungey.
Jim, it seems like we're back to the point in the season where if you made it through a couple of injuries early on, you're perhaps starting to feel better, and I think James Stewart and Davey Millsap's in that vein.
Well, more so, I think that a guy like James Stewart, Davey Millsap's, I think, still feeling some of that effects, and you saw it last week.
There is Chad Reed on the 2-2 Motorsports Honda. Chad himself continuing to work through some injuries.
Chad says he's got some big news to announce on Monday. Don't know what it is, but he's got some news to announce.
So race tonight, Chad Reed announcement on Monday. Keep your ear to the ground and make sure you interact with us during the entire week. There are lots of different ways to do it, from the AMSOIL podium interviews that are posted after the race to our post-race wrap-up to the Toyota tailgate talk, the after the checkered flag. There are many ways to interact with Monster Energy Supercross on supercrossonline.com. on any other day, not just a race day Saturday. I want to make sure we thank Motorcycle Mechanics Institute for their support of this program and continue to remind you that the McGrath Scholarship is still out there, $20,000 to be had for the individual who submits the best video, the most intriguing video to Jeremy McGrath explaining why you should win his scholarship, what you would do with his scholarship. Submit it now to youtube.com/McGrath Scholarship. That is for Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. You may find yourself with a new career. Ryan Dungey on the Red Bull KTM. His mechanic Carlos Rivera, graduate of Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Jim, last week, Ryan Dungey put in what appeared to be an out-of-character, aggressive ride. Seemed to be his best ride of the 2013 season.
Well, I think, you know, with 6 rounds to go, including tonight in Toronto, that you got to step it up. I mean, he's still in the points hunt. He's only 17 down. That's not too much to overcome, still with the amount of races that we have left. But you can never count out the man who runs at number 5.
Update on the times. James Stewart, fastest as he has so often been during practice, 58.91. Followed by Davey Millsaps, 59.1, so just 0.2 separating the two riders. Villapoto in 3rd, Barsha in 4th, Brayton, then Reed, Dungey, Short, Hill, and Tickle. So good to see the two RCH riders, Hill and Tickle, cracking the top 10 in this first qualifying session.
Oh, we still have a lot of time left. 4:12 left in this one as you see Chad Reed go around the corners. You were talking about the ruts. Goes to the outside here, just going to double, seat hop, triple, and then a double into that corner and carry that momentum around.
Interesting that Reed chose to rhythm that little section of whoops. Looked like a fairly fast line. Just keep an eye and see if anyone else tries that. So you now see Bobby Canary on the NFAB Tylug Yamaha.
Actually, his team manager, Alan Brown, is supposed to come up here and chat with us a little bit this afternoon. Michael Lessie, 800 there going by Bobby now.
There's Davey Millsaps, former points leader from this season. Millsaps looking like he had a podium locked up last week, only to get stuck in a rut on the very last lap. And Davey Millsaps came home in 4th.
See, Davey overjumped it right there. He just didn't land that triple smoothly, and you got to land it just perfect in order to triple out.
Ryan Villapoto now fastest on track, 57.88, followed by Ryan Dungey, 58.6. So once again it's the Ryans, then it is Stewart, Millsaps, Reed, Barsha, Brayton, Tickle, Gerke, and Weimer, the top 10. Ryan Dungey looking like he's putting in another fast lap. 450A, practice number 1 from the Rogers Center here in Toronto. Remember, this race is on live tonight on Speed, 7:30 Eastern. So another early one for those of you back on the West Coast.
Everything looks to be clicking for Ryan Dungey right now. He looks really good out there, comfortable, smooth.
Through that rhythm section where his teammate Marvin Muskin went down, and Dungey comes across, will now hit the finish line.
He's got a hot lap going. Let's see what if he can pump it up a little bit.
That lap a 59.3, but not best. 57.8, fastest lap right now. Dungey 58.6. So Ryan Villapoto nearly a second faster than Ryan Dungey and the rest of the field.
Yeah, but you watch. We've got a minute to go. These other guys will try to step it up and just nip them right at the end.
RCH's Josh Hill on that 75 Suzuki. This event here in Toronto is one that has grown by a factor of 2 over its lifetime. One of the strongest events now in the championship. First race was actually held here in 2004, won by Ricky Carmichael.
James looks like he's on a hot lap. Let's see what he can put in. Does he bump up? There he goes. 57.6 for James Stewart now.
Jim Holley, you know your stuff. James Stewart sneaking it in just under the wire. 2/10 faster than Ryan Villopoto.
Yeah, but you got to run that pace for 20 laps and not make no mistakes.
And you have to get a good start. James Stewart had a good start last week, only to stall the bike in that off-camber left-hander. Saw a lot of action in that area of the track. Dean Wilson having gone down and ended his season prematurely after taking the outside line and jumping on a tough block. Riders just finishing up their fastest lap. Can anyone better? James Stewart effort of 57.6. It won't be Ryan Villopoto. Ryan Dungey just ran his fastest lap of 57.8. So Dungey and Stewart, in typical fashion, turning in fast laps right at the end of the session.
See those yellow flags out like that? They want to make sure nobody takes an extra lap. This is where you're exiting off, boys.
.6 will do it. That's James Stewart. He, for now, is your top qualifier. Followed by Ryan Dungey, 57.803. Ryan Villopoto, 57.880. Those three riders, the only riders inside of the 57-second mark. You then have to go to Davey Millsaps, who is at 59 flat. Followed by Chad Reed, Justin Barsha, Justin Brayton, Brock Tickle, Matt Gerke, Jake Weimer, Weston Pike in there at 11th, Josh Hill, Andrew Short, Jimmy Albertson, Les Smith, Bobby Canary, and Mike Alessi. Welcome back into our studio location. Kevin Barnett and Jim Holley taking you through Toronto practice, and we have a palatial studio here. We've been packed in certain places like San Diego and Oakland, but here we have a large studio. We will have a couple of great guests for you later today. We continue to make our tour through some of the team managers that are out there. We're going to have Tony Alessi in here.
Yeah. Alan Brown
from NFAB Tylube. That should be good. So looking forward to a great day of guests and racing action here. We're glad that you've joined us on Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. Remember, there are all kinds of ways to interact with us. Do it on social media. You want to ask Jim a question? Because he's the expert. This is the man who's been there.
I'll answer it.
He's ridden. He's managed. He's broadcast. Jim has done just about everything you could do inside of this sport. Maybe you'll be president of Feld one day. We'll have to see. See how that all works out for you.
It's a lot of pressure.
That is a lot of pressure. But Jim Holley has done it also. You want to ask him a question, hashtag Supercross Live or tweet at Supercross Online on Twitter. You can do that and then ask us whatever you want. Jim, going to be a good race day, I think. This is the middle of the championship. Of course, Easter coming up. Riders will get a little bit of a break. This is a chance for them to get one last blast, get a little bit of rest, and then focus in for the drive to the end. 5 races coming off of Easter.
I mean, think about that. Only 5 races to go. These guys have been hammering hard each and every weekend since the beginning of January, and they only get Easter off. These guys, I guarantee you that the top 5 guys, they're not going to take Easter off. It's not like they're going to go hunt for Easter eggs or eat a bunch of chocolate bunnies. They're going to be out riding. It's a weekend off where they don't have to travel. Let's put it that way. But it's a weekend. It's not a weekend off for them. They're going to be testing and making sure that they're geared up, ready to go for that last 5 rounds, because those last 5 rounds can be huge. And what I mean by that is we got a dome in Houston, we got a dome in Minneapolis, then we go
outside
to the 3 no domes. We're talking Seattle. It could rain. That could present a problem, as well as Salt Lake City, and then Las Vegas. One of the riders going down in this B section. Hopefully he's okay. I can't see the number. It looks like 181 if I'm not mistaken.
That's Dustin Pipes on that JT Racing Race Tech Suzuki out of Madera, California. And Dustin not looking real good with the left side of his body there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a wrist, an elbow, a shoulder. He's going to come over. The Asterix guys are going to start looking at him and see. Well, actually, he's going to go to his bike. He's all right. He's a tough kid. Big boy, too. He's tough. He's going to climb back on that Suzuki and go for it. Broke his visor, it looks like, though.
Dustin Pipes climbing back aboard that Suzuki. Just under 3 minutes into the B group qualifying practice. Ben LeMay sits atop this group with a 1:02.
You did a nice interview today, Kevin, earlier on the track walk with Ronnie Stewart, 606 out there. That's a true privateer, as well as Nick Beattie, the Canadian there, riding on that 250 class, 691 if I'm not mistaken, right?
691.
Yeah. Those are true privateers. I like to get to the, we interview a lot of the factory guys all the time, but I really like to interview, sometimes the true privateers.
961.
961.
Nick Beattie, 961. The only other Canadian representative outside of 48, Cole Thompson. And strange that, Jim. It seemed like these races used to attract more Canadian riders than 2.
Well, you talk about the 2 Canadian riders that have been riding with us. They've obviously been down south in the United States practicing, and when they started out in Arlington, they were ready to go. The other guys are still stuck up here in Canada where it's cold and it's snowing and they can't ride. And, the only opportunity they'll have is to go down south. And obviously a lot of the Canadians opted not to go down south. And, you ask them, well, why don't you come here and ride? And they go, well, I don't want to take a chance on getting hurt because I haven't been prepared. I haven't been riding.
There is the 606. Ronnie Stewart. Stewart currently sitting in 5th with a 104. Sponsored by RSR Racing.
Ronnie Stewart Racing.
Ronnie Stewart Racing.
See, he went in and put in a hard lap. See where he's at. Now he's just going to kind of cruise, maybe check some lines out. There's Ben LeMay. So you see a lot of those other guys doing triple, and these guys are only doing double. I mean, you're going to have to, the track's deteriorating a little bit, compared to when the other guys were out there.
It looks like a very soft track, and you mentioned some of the lines earlier. Didn't think it would rut up, but it looks to be rutting up quite a bit.
Yeah, not quite as, we'll ask Tony Alessi, but still nothing near what Daytona rutted up at.
No, I don't think anything approaches Daytona. But certainly different than the West Coast rounds with the hard dirt of Anaheim and San Diego. Oakland, one that definitely broke down quickly.
Been trying to look around, and see, okay, now I'm going to go for my hot lap. I'm crossing the finish line now. It's time to turn it on. Rounds it nicely, across the whoops. Step on, step off, rail this outside. Yep, there, nice seat hop. Oh, a little short. That'll definitely take the wind out of the sails when you come up short on that. the key for him is when he comes around the next time to not make that mistake, and you got to jump that cleanly. Phil Nicoletti, 49 on that Infab Tylube Yamaha rod.
If you have an Apple iPhone or perhaps a phone running Android, you have an opportunity to download the official app of Monster Energy Supercross. Great way to get news, videos, all kinds of information, as well as play a trivia game brought to you by Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Go to the Google Play or the Apple App Store today and download it for free, the Monster Energy Supercross app.
Phil Nicoletti that time put on the fastest lap, a 101.6 for Phil Nicoletti. There you go. There you go, Ben. That was good that time.
A little more pop out of there for Ben LeMay, who currently is in second. So it's Phil Nicoletti, followed by LeMay, Belos, Sipes, Gilmore, Stewart, Entignap, Kaiden, Wennerstrom, and Gorge, your top 10. Good ride last week for Justin Sipes in the heat race.
Yeah, he rode really well in that heat race. Let's see if Ben LeMay can go atop this leaderboard. Hang on to it, Ben. He's on a fast lap right now.
There's double, triple, double rhythm through that section.
Got the big handful coming out of there. Got in here, rolled it. Let's see, did he do it? Yes, he did. A minute flat, a minute .7.
A minute .7 puts him almost to the middle of what 450A was putting down. So a good
That's
lap
a good
for
lap
Ben
time.
LeMay.
Yeah.
And that Rock River Yamaha.
Christina Denny's probably back home in Atlanta doing backflips right about now.
Well, you know she's tuned into this program. Watch her rider. Keep an eye on what's happening here north of the border. Our only international stop on the Monster Energy Supercross Championship.
She could be at volleyball, though, with her daughter.
She could be.
And she's watching a volleyball match, and all of a sudden she yells out when Ben crosses, because you know she's got the iPad with her watching what's going on, and she yells out, and hopefully it wasn't the other team that just scored. You know, her daughter would be upset at that point.
It's my mission to make people a fan of both volleyball and Monster Energy Supercross. If you're also a fan of Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam, we know this is a big weekend for you. This is the Monster Jam World Finals. And for the first time, there will be Monster Jam live from the Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam World Finals, the Party in the Pits at the NGK Sparkplugs main stage. This is all happening at Sam Boyd Stadium, where Supercross will finish the season in just 6 weeks or so. Greg Whitaker, Ken Nowitzki, and Heather Nichols will bring you all the feel from that World Finals. Lots of interviews, all kinds of events happening, really a huge event. Opportunity for you to tune into that just a half an hour after our program concludes. So that'll be 5:30 Eastern if you want to tune into the Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam Live.
You think we got time? Did they fire up the private jet for us? Maybe after our show we could jet down there real quick and then get back here before the heat races take off?
Again, when you're president of Feld, we can do that.
All right. It's Phil Nicoletti there now. Let's see if Phil can pick it up. He's got that 101.6 going right now. Behind him, Blos with a 101.9. Justin Sipes with a 102.5. And then Cody Gilmore with a 103.3. We'll see. Phil looks over and let's see if he bumped it up. Nope. That's it. Looks like that time's going to hold up for Ben LeMay. A 1 minute .7 for Ben LeMay. Phil Nicoletti with a 101.6. So it's considerably, fast time for Ben LeMay. And you look at that and you go back as a rider, you look at that and you'd mentioned earlier that that's right in the middle of the A practice. You're going, all right, I got to put that bike in the main event.
Put the bike in the main event, get yourself in the A practice, not only get an opportunity to run those 20 laps with the fast riders, run that main event in the night show, but also get an opportunity to come the next week and run practice with all the fast guys, see the fast lines, and continue your growth as a rider. Good stuff for Ben LeMay. A good start to the qualifying afternoon. So 450B group practice all finished. LeMay, Nicoletti, Blos, Sipes, and Gilmore your top 5. There is Ronnie Stewart in 6th. Then Entignap, Akaiden, Wennerstrom, Gores, Oswald, Schneider, Stryker, Greco, Pipes, Fowler, Vollinger, Hicks, and Schlatt. Welcome back inside our studio location here in Toronto. Kevin Barnett and Jim Holley getting through the Toronto qualifying practice. Now remember, this is going to be live on Speed tonight. And really, Jim, the coverage is unprecedented. When you were racing, what was the coverage like on television for this sport?
There was no coverage. No. I mean, there was coverage, but it would come on, at maybe midnight or so on the West Coast time, 3 in the morning on the East Coast time the next day or whatever. But I mean, I'm just happy to be here at Supercross. I mean, to see how the sport has grown over the years and the technology of the motorcycles and the development of the tracks. They've changed the tracks a lot. The bikes can do a lot more. I mean, you come out here and we do the track walk and we're walking. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe you could double that or whatever. And then they come out and they triple it or quad it or something. Just, to watch these guys go across the whoops. I mean, and a lot of people, they get a chance to see that on the track walk.
Right.
You get down there and you walk, and it looks a lot different. I mean, you look behind us, and the Dirtworks guys are already out there grooming the track, getting it ready, for the next practice sessions. I mean, they really cater to the riders and make sure that they're happy and that everything is safe for the guys. And I mean, the tough blocks, for instance. I mean, we had hay bales. I mean, if you ever run a motorcycle in a hay bale, it doesn't move. Where these tough blocks will move, and the Feld guys have done a great job as far as trying to secure the banner space to it, because that was some of the problems with the tough blocks, and then anchoring them down. But they've done a great job. It's just a great program, and I'm so happy that they're here in Canada, and working with the FIM. It's an FIM event. The CMA is involved, which is the Canadian Motorcyclists Association, Marilyn Bastido, and everybody there, coming together. It's pretty cool to have it up here in Toronto. Yeah,
just a few years ago, the season actually would start up here in Canada. There was a couple of events. There was Vancouver and also Toronto. Why the change? Do you like bringing Toronto in the middle of the season, or did you like starting up here?
I think that, those races that you talked about when the season was starting, those were in, December. Yeah. So, I think that it gave the guys a little bit of an opportunity to kind of get up here and in race conditions. And I think that went away when we brought on the Monster Energy Cup. They have an opportunity to do that now on October 19th this year, the Monster Energy Cup, and they also are racing for $1 million. So I like the way they've done it. They've changed it up a little bit, but that's why they were here earlier, because a lot of guys were, you go out and you test and you go to the test tracks and you got to stop watch and everything, but it's not like race conditions. So, that's why they had the first 2 here, but I think that they did away with those because the Monster Energy Cup took precedent over that, and I think that's a great event at Sam Boyd Stadium. Like I said, on October 19th, you get a chance to see a lot of the new guys on new bikes. This year we saw Barsh on his new Honda.
You're right.
And he comes out and wins it and picks up $100,000. And the first year, the opening of the Monster Energy Cup, we saw $1 million get taken away by Ryan Villapoto. So who knows this year at the Monster Energy Cup? I'll be there. I'm sure you'll be there. It'll be a great event.
Jim mentioned the increased coverage this sport has received, and a big part of that is Supercross Online, and the content there is not just about this show. We also have a pre-race preview in the morning of each race day, as well as a bunch of rider interviews, and then Jim has the AMSOIL podium interviews. And I want to go back to last week and give you an opportunity to hear from the winners last week. It was Ryan Villapoto in the 450s and Marvin Muskin with an incredible ride in the 250s. Here's Jim with those AMSOIL podium interviews from last week in Indianapolis.
Jim Holley, Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com, here at the podium, brought to you by AMSOIL Indianapolis. Well, Ryan Villapoto, Indianapolis has been good to you. 4 wins here in the last 4 years.
Yeah, this is a hell of a stadium, and Man, it's been great to me the last 4 years, and was able to extend my points lead, which is huge. And I mean, the track was really falling apart, and me and Ryan were pushing the limit, and I mean, I just knew I had to keep going inside on the off camber, because as soon as I would have gone outside, he would have went underneath me. So yeah, I just tried to keep maintaining and just be consistent.
Did you know Millsap's messed up that last lap and you gained a couple more points? I mean, you picked up 7 points tonight.
Yeah, no, I didn't really know. So, well, I mean, I knew that he was third, and I knew that was obviously good, better than him getting.
Jim Holley, Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. At the podium, brought to you by Amsoil here in Indianapolis. Well, Marvin Muskin, Stephanie, your PR gal for KTM, says you're not marvelous anymore, you're the musician. Marvin Muskin with the win. You did it a little differently. Last week you hole shot it and you led all the laps. This week you come from dead last to win it.
Yeah, you know, it was a tough one, but I didn't get a good start. And I mean, I was inside with Willan, and then somebody put actually 2 tough blocks in the middle of the track, I mean on the turn, and I was stuck behind the tough block with Willan, and on the podium we were all laughing, because, I mean, we are laughing now because we're on the podium, but at the moment I was like, what's going on? I mean, I couldn't go because of the tough blocks, and yeah, we were dead last, and I passed Willan really quick because I wanted to get points on him, you know, at the championship, so, and then I fight all the way through the third place, you know, and then I was third. I was happy with third for a podium, and then Peters, I passed Peters. I was happy with second, and then I looked forward and I saw Blake Wharton, and I mean, he was up front and he had the win for sure, and I saw like 3 lap rider, and I was like, anything can happen, and I guess he crashed in the whoops, and it's really sad for him because he didn't get the win and even a podium, so he rode good. I mean, he was at front, so he had the win. And I mean, I believe it, and then it's a lucky one, I would say, but I was happy with second, but I get the win. It's awesome.
2 in a row now for you, and most importantly, you gained 5 points on Will Hahn. You put yourself in a good position. You're back in this championship fight.
Yeah, sure. You know, it's really sad for Dean Wilson. He crashed in the first lap of the heat race, and you know, that's Supercross, and anything can happen, and I'm really glad I stayed on my wheels and I did a good race. Bike is awesome. The team is working really hard. My mechanic Frankie is an awesome guy. I mean, he believed in me, and we train hard. I mean, on the week, and we fly back every week to California, and we work hard. So I'm really happy. The Red Bull KTM thing. I mean, I want to thank everybody, and so now let's move on to the next round.
You know, I talked to you a little bit earlier on the track walk today, and you know, you got that win in Daytona, but you said that's kind of like an outdoor Supercross. I want one in the indoors, and you got one here tonight in Indianapolis.
Yeah, now I got it. You know, it's an awesome feeling. Will Honey won 2 in a row, and you know, when you look at him after the race, I mean, it's a great feeling. So I finally got it, and 2 in a row, it's awesome. So you know, I got to keep fighting now, and I want to win the championship, and it's going to be tough. You know, Will Hahn is still here and still on the podium every weekend, so it's going to be tough.
Welcome back to Toronto. We talked about some of the unique aspects of this event being the only international event, but how about you can get a hotel room overlooking the track here in the Rogers Center? We don't have another venue like this on the entire championship. You can get a room and watch the entire race from the comfort of your room.
Well, and the other thing also is there's a restaurant right there that looks down, so you can get yourself a hamburger or whatever and watch practice.
Lots of great services here in the Rogers Center, and hello to everyone there in the Rogers Center. Welcome to practice and welcome to Supercross Live here on supercrossonline.com. I'm Kevin Barnett, joined by the legendary Jim Holley, and we bring you this program, 3 hours of live streaming of qualifying practice at each and every round of the Monster Energy Supercross. Of course, we have this round here in Toronto, and then when you're not in the venue itself, as you are fortunate enough to be tonight, you can watch us online, and that'll be from Houston, from Minneapolis, and then Seattle, Salt Lake, and Las Vegas for the finals. Now, Jim, we take questions via Twitter, via social media. We have an opportunity for folks to interact with us if you hashtag Supercross Online or hashtag SX on Speed. And Jim, we had one come in here from Harry. It says, what's the biggest change from when you raced to today. I mean, there are a ton of changes. You've seen them all after your riding career still being involved.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest changes, I mean, are obviously the motorcycles from 2-stroke to 4-stroke. I mean, back when I rode, they were air-cooled, and then they're water-cooled. We got into disc brakes as opposed to drum brakes, but I mean, that's got to be the one. And then the social media, you know, with Twitter and Facebook and everything, and Supercross live, you know, streaming practice live. I remember sometimes when I would be at a race, I'd have to, you know, get the rotary phone and dial up maybe my dad back in Los Angeles, and he was asking how'd practice go or whatever. But now you got the computer, the internet, and you can watch Supercross live, timing and scoring. You can see where the guys are at and everything. But and another thing is when I raced here, I was in Expedition Park for the Toronto fans here in the stands outside.
Yeah.
So you know, with the dome here, back then I think. It wasn't the Rogers Center. I'm almost sure it was the
Sky Dome.
Sky Dome, yeah, they called it the Sky Dome. But pretty interesting. But it's just a cool venue to go to, like we were talking about with the hotel and the restaurants and things like that. As you see some of the fans in the stands there, getting an opportunity. And the party in the pits last night, the Monster Energy party, was actually Friday night. And it was down here, and a lot of people down there on the floor getting a chance to hang out at the Monster stage and getting a chance to walk the track and everything. And like I said, I think the track tonight is great. I think it's you know, in years past we've come up here and we've walked the track, and it's been literally like a sponge. It's holding so much moisture because they bring the soil in and it thaws out literally inside the dome, and they have to add a drying agent to dry it out. But tonight, I mean, it's already dry. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, maybe they put a little water on it. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what changes they make, if any, to the actual form of the track. That has been one common thing that has happened from one qualifying session to the next. We've had some minor changes to the track. Right now, James Stewart, fastest qualifier in the 450 class, and he will be under pressure in the next session. With no track changes, we generally see times drop even as much as a second as riders start to figure the track out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to drop quite that much in that second go-around. Just depends on how the track, you know, breaks down and how the ruts start developing. But with the guys out there now, the Dirtworks guys doing a great job as far as preparing the track and getting it ready for the final practice session, time practice session that we have here. I think it'll be fine. James
Stewart, Ryan Dungey, and Ryan Villopoto, the only three riders inside of the same second during that first qualifying session. And getting back to Ryan Villopoto, he's on an incredible win streak again. He's won 4 races of the last 5. He has won 3 in a row, including that victory last week in Indianapolis. We started the year with the Terminator video for Ryan Villopoto, and he started with a 16th. Now he's back to being that Terminator. Cue up the red eyes. What do you think can slow down Ryan Villopoto?
Well, obviously the thing that slowed him down in the beginning of the season, and that was bad starts. I mean, if you get bad starts and you can't, you know, everybody's fast now. I mean, if you look at the lap times, everyone's within, you know, on the same second and things like that. You don't see like in years past where you saw a guy or a couple guys that might have been a second or 2 seconds faster than the rest of the field. They're all really bunched up there. So that makes it real difficult if you get a bad start. So I think, you know, if you're Ryan Villopoto, you know, you got to continue to keep getting good starts. And if you don't get a good start, you just got to try to, you know, stay focused and not lose your head and, you know, repeat what you had at the opening round where you crashed 3 times in the main event and you got 16th. That's not going to do any good on winning your 3rd championship if you do that.
Davey Millsaps was the points leader in the 450 class from the beginning until, I believe, the 8th race and held that red background, but now Davey Millsaps 9 back. One of the telling things I thought from this week was when Ryan Villopoto was talking about his points lead, he said 17-point lead. And what he's referring to there is the gap over Ryan Dungey and skipping over Davey Millsaps. How does Davey Millsaps combat that view of his racing, that he's not a factor?
Come out and win tonight here in Toronto and make a statement. Hey, you can't overlook me. I had that red background since the opening round. I had a practice crash, wasn't 100% coming in, but you know, with that hole shot last week and collecting the $1,500 from Nuclear Cowboys for that hole shot and leading it a little bit, and you know, basically he had a 3rd. He just made a mistake on that last lap that you know, cost him a couple more points, or that 9-point deficit that he would have would only be 7. And you can't count anybody out. It's you know, Davey's won a couple races this year. I mean, he's a factor, and he's starting to get a little bit more healthier, you know, after that injury that he had, you know, before Daytona.
One guy who looked pretty comfortable early on in practice and we're hoping to see get back into form maybe be Justin Barcia, a guy who started out the season strong in his rookie campaign on the 450. What do you think you need from Justin Barcia in order to get back to the front, get himself back on the podium?
Well, if you come back to last year here in 2012 in the 250 class, Barcia won. The year before that in 2011, Dean Wilson won, and if you go all the way back to 2010, Barcia won there. So Barcia's won here a couple times. He knows what this soil is, and don't be surprised if Barcia's a threat tonight.
Okay, on the 250 side, heard from Marvin Musquin, who himself won 2 races, and we've seen twice this season with both he and Will Hahn, where a rider wins his first race of his career and then follows it up with the immediate second victory of his career. Both Musquin and Hahn have done that successively. What is the difference for Marvin Musquin right now versus in years past when I think people had the same high expectations?
You know, I think the experience for Marvin. You know, everybody's known he came from Europe, you know, on winning an MX2 World Championship, you know, and he got over here. And I think last year in the outdoors, when him and Ryan Dungey both won the 450 and the 250 class in the outdoors at Unadilla, I think that gave him a lot of confidence coming into the season. I mean, he was ready to go. It's unfortunate that Arlington in a couple of those first rounds, he had some bad, bad starts and put himself in some bad positions early in the race. But, you know, he's on a roll right now. But then you saw what the track did to him tonight in
Practice
Toronto.
crash.
Put him down. So who knows where he's at and how his head is. I mean, he may be in the mode of just trying to salvage tonight and saying, hey, you know what? Man, I don't know if I can win, but, you know, I got to try to keep the points close. I got to try to stay ahead of Will Hahn. I got to try to get up on the podium. But Marvin's a tough kid. You know, he'll be back.
250 East Championship certainly up for grabs. Dean Wilson, the consensus preseason favorite, already out from a crash last week. So right now it's a 9-point advantage for Will Hahn over Marvin Musquin. We're going to be right back here on Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. We'll have a special guest for you coming up. Learn a little bit more about one of the teams in the championship.
Are sport bikes in your blood? Do you like the power? Think 2 wheels are way better than 4? Well, how'd you like to turn your love of high-performance motorcycles into a kick-butt career? You can, right here at MMI. Come on. At MMI, you're going full throttle with intense hands-on training programs. Our students work hard, study hard, and it pays off. When you graduate here, you're going to be ready to work. MMI teams up with all the big boys: Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, BMW Motorrad, Suzuki, and Harley-Davidson. You train on their bikes using the latest technology and equipment, and you have the opportunity to earn manufacturer and dealer recognition. Hey, you're only going to get that kind of training right here at MMI. We've graduated more technicians over the last 10 years than all the other schools combined. That's a whole lot of techs doing what they love. If bikes are in your DNA, then you should be working on these bad boys. Pick up the phone and let's talk about programs, campuses, and financial aid. You ready to ride? Let's go. Call now.
What's up, Brian Deegan here. Make sure you check out Nuclear Cowboys. All my boys from the Metal Militia are laying it down. Freestyle motocross, the best riders in the world. It is the best show, so get your tickets now. Check it out.
Have you downloaded the brand new Monster Energy Supercross mobile app yet? Get race info and results, buy tickets, watch videos, play trivia, and more, all right from your smartphone. Search Monster Energy Supercross on Apple iTunes or Google Play stores to download it for free today.
Welcome back to Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. Remember to interact with us on Facebook and Twitter by hashtagging Supercross Live or SX on Speed. Kevin Barnett and Jim Holley hosting, and we're pleased to be joined by a special guest, NFAB Tylube Yamaha's manager, Alan Brown. Welcome.
How you doing, guys?
Good. This is a homecoming for you, huh? Back to the Great White North.
Yeah, it's a little bit close. Not exactly where I grew up, but about 300 miles away.
Good, good. You have 3 riders now in this championship series. You brought on Bobby Canary halfway through the year. How do you feel about how it's gone with all 3 of your riders, Chris Blows, Phil Nicoletti, and Bobby Canary?
It hasn't gone as we expected. It's been really competitive. You know, we were shooting for Blows probably being a real consistent main event guy, and Canary, it's his rookie year. We've hit some bumps in the road. There's been some ups and downs, but all in all, we're doing okay. We had a chance to pick up Bob Canary, and I think that was a great addition to the team.
You've been around a long time. I mean, you were a racer yourself up here in Canada and things like that, and you've been running in teams. And I know that last year you were helping Nick Way out. You've been with the Moto Concepts team when they were back, when Juice Lansu and those guys, Akira Narita, were there. You've seen a lot of changes in the sport, and I'm talking on the sponsorship side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Back when it was, you know, in the 2000s, you know, it was a lot different. The companies that sell motorcycle products had a lot of extra money, and they supported pretty much what we do, and that changed. You know, it changed in about 2008, and now we're forced to get outside money from companies that feel there's a value in Supercross.
What do you think, like, you know, you'd mentioned, you know, Phil Nicoletti as well as Chris Bloss and everything. Where do you, like, when you guys start the season out, where are you thinking, like, hey, man, you got to make every main event, but like you said, it's tough to make the main events now.
Yeah, it's getting really tough to make the main events. It seems like the guys, everybody's going at right about the same speed. I think we all learned a lesson last year with so many injuries. Guys were really going as hard as they could the whole time, and it cost some guys, you know, injuries. And I think the guys now are riding within that comfort zone, and everybody can ride to that certain level. It's only a few guys that, you know, really want to take it past the point, you know, cross that line. But the guys don't want to cross the line. They want to make it to the end.
There have been a lot of questions about the track design this year and some of the slowdown that I think people have. I don't know if they viewed it that way or if it's intentional from the track designs to slow everything down, and they feel like the track design has brought everyone back together. Do you feel like that's been a big factor in keeping everyone inside of that same second?
Yeah, I'm really a believer in making the track a little bit more, I guess, user-friendly for some of the guys. You know, I mean, there's the elite riders, and no matter what you do, the cream's going to rise to the top. You know, so we could set up cones and guys could race in a circle, and you know what? You're still going to get the top riders to the front. So if we can somehow get the field closer together and keep everybody in a better pack, I think we're going to just have better racing and, you know, more drama, just more fun to watch.
I think one of the questions we always have for managers when we have you guys up here, whether it's Adam Toppy or Christina Denny, is how do you go about finding your riders for next season or choosing your riders and what's going to work for your team?
You know, there's a lot into it. There's so many riders, like the level that we're at. There's so many riders that are really on the same second, like you say. You know, I could look at Chris Bloss, I could look at Phil Nicoletti, Bob Canary, you know, Ben LeMay's getting in there now.
Weston
Pike is in there. There's probably 10 riders I can choose from. So it comes down to a game of, you know, hey, who do the sponsors like? You know, marketability. It's a little bit of a popularity contest sometimes. And then how hard does the guy work? You know, do I know he's a hard worker? Do I know he's going to put in the time and make the effort? You know, I mean, that's important too.
What do you expect from the riders outside of the practice and the riding on the weekend? What are the demands that you guys typically place on them? And how important is that in the overall equation of servicing the sponsors and being a part of your team?
Obviously, if we have sponsor requests, we expect them to be there on time and you know, take care of the sponsor, or, you know, interact with the fans, you know, be friendly. We want them to do their homework. You know, we ought to know that, you know, on Monday they're doing what they have to do. Tuesday they're at the track. Wednesday they're at the track. Maybe Thursday they're at the gym. Friday they're traveling. You know, you want to know that they're, you know, eating properly and real, you know, it's basic stuff. We can get, you know, you can get into some more in-depth stuff with personal trainers and, you know, different workouts and stuff.
It seems like basic stuff, doesn't it?
You know, sometimes you can just get back to the basics and it's right there.
It's hard, though, as a team manager, when you schedule a signing and say the rider doesn't show up and he's a half hour late and there's people waiting there, you're just kind of pulling out your hair like, God, I line these things up. This is what pays the bills. And, I mean, how do you deal with it with a rider? Like, obviously, you're not going to talk to him that night because he's there and you want to keep him in a good mood. But afterwards, on the way back, you got to go, hey, man, why were you late? This is like high school stuff, you know, like you were late to school. This is professional racing. This is a job. And I see a lot of guys that don't treat it like a job.
There are some guys. I've worked with some riders that are way more professional than others. You know, I've worked with one rider I worked with a long time ago, is Timmy Ferry, and he's by far the most professional guy I've ever worked with. You know, you ask him to do one thing, he says, yes, I can make it. Forget about it. It's done, you know. And there's other riders that they just don't take it that seriously. You know, it's not that big a deal to them.
And you mentioned a guy like Timmy Ferry. When he came to you, he was off of a factory ride. He had a factory ride, and then he comes to your team. He's riding for you, and you guys put together a great program, and he had great finishes that got him back into the factory ride.
Yeah, that was really fun. You know, we've had that happen a couple times. You know, it happened with Nick Way, and it was really significant when it happened to Timmy. It was I'd been friends with Timmy, and I'd known him for a long time, and his career was pretty much over.
Right.
You know, and Yamaha had let him go, and he'd had a wrist injury that wasn't healing, and you know, I wanted him to come race. I thought he could still do it. I know he wanted to do it. He had his wrist fixed, but there was still a lot of doubt, so no factory team was going to pick him up. And we had a good program in place, so, you know, I kind of almost had to beg him to come because we didn't have the money that he was, you know, maybe accustomed to.
Right.
You know, the salary and the expenses and the, you know, the parts and just the accessibility to Supercross tracks, and we didn't have that. But I said, you know, let's go out there. We'll do our best. We'll do good. You know, you'll do all right. And he did, you know, and partway through the year, we talked about the next year, and he promised me, he said, hey, I'll ride with you next year, no problem. Go out, get some sponsors. We're good, unless I get a factory ride. And I was like, hey, you're probably not going to get a factory ride, so we're good. But
right.
The next week, you know, I think a spot opened up at Kawasaki, and he got
that
nod.
factory ride again.
Yeah.
Alan, people may not realize that while qualifying and practice is going on, you're up in the press box or an area up high getting an opportunity to watch the track while the riders are out on the track. What are you seeing from up there, and how are you communicating it down to the floor level?
Well, we're watching for, you know, how the lines are developing, how the track's developing, the things that are changing. Maybe riders are doing something different. You know, sometimes guys will save something for the night show, but if you can see them do it, it's a lot of, if somebody does it first and everybody else sees it, they can do it. But if he gets away with it, nobody saw it, then he's got that in his back pocket. So, I mean, we watch for that. Obviously, we, you know, keep an eye on the lap times. Some of the riders like to know their lap times while they're out there, so we can relay that to the mechanics. They can put it on the pit board and tell them where they're at. Yeah, just keep an eye on what's going on.
How much time do you spend watching your rider versus the other riders?
Probably 60-40. You know, you're watching your own rider. You know, you try and watch for when guys are on a hot lap. You know, if you see James or Chad or somebody's on a hot lap, I mean, you want to catch that and then watch and see what they do.
Something else that you know, you have an advantage of being up there and looking down on that, and with the headset you can radio down to the mechanic, and maybe the rider doesn't see it, but I know from my past experience, you see something, maybe the rear end's kicking too much and they need to turn a clicker down or whatever, you can radio down and then pull it in, because sometimes the guys don't want to pull in. And you make that little bit of adjustment, they go out and they go, oh man, that thing worked great.
Yeah, you can for sure tell them. You know, you can tell the mechanic, hey, get him in, tell him he needs to do something different in a corner. You know,
right.
Hey, so-and-so's going inside here, it's better, you know.
Right.
Or, you know, a line developed, and even right now, first practice to the first qualifying session, there's a line that developed in the rhythm section that wasn't there in the first practice, you know, and the guy said to me, oh, we can't do that. Now the line's there, and they can do it. So.
Next year when you're here, you got to get one of those hotels with the room right there, and you can sit up in the room and you can watch us live, and you can radio down to the mechanic and tell them to make those changes.
Those are some nice rooms. I have a couple friends who've had those. They're it's a pretty neat deal.
How much rivalry or communication is there between team managers or cooperation?
There can be a lot of help, and there can be some serious rivalries. It definitely, you know, it's there. You know, there's competition.
Who's your rival?
I'm a pretty laid-back guy. I don't think I've got too many rivals, I guess. I know that when Ryan Clark was racing, he was trying to run a team, and I was trying to run a team, and he was kind of like, I always used to refer to him as the thorn in my side, because he just wouldn't go away. And but I mean, we're friends. We get along well now, and it never got ugly. But yeah, we were competing. We compete with Forrest Butler, at the BBMX team. But I mean, off the track, we're friends. We talk, but there's no doubt it's business, and we're competing against each other.
Something else I saw when I was walking through the pits, Big Dan from Yamaha, he had the computer on Bobby Canari's bike plugged in and getting all the data and stuff. I mean, the Yamaha factory's been helping your team as well as Rock River. They don't have a factory team that they're fielding, but they have all these satellite teams that they bring the technicians to, and they come to each and every race, and Bob Oliver's there and this and that, and they're helping the Gibbs guys out also. I mean, they're helping any of the satellite teams on the Yamaha. That's got to be a plus for you guys.
That's a really big plus, One thing about getting a good rider is, he wants a good motorcycle. When you raced, you wanted to be on a good motorcycle, Yamaha's really, reaching out to teams, and they really want to, show that they have a good motorcycle, and it is a good motorcycle. And, guys like Dan come to the race, and with electronics getting bigger and bigger, it's just it's never ending. What they do in MotoGPs, what they do in Formula One, and even, people don't realize it, but NASCAR is, everything is electronic. Everything is monitored. Everything is controlled. And it's only going to, grow in Supercross. It's going to become more and more. You just come in, oh, you don't like that? Okay, we'll just change it. Go back out.
See, only if we can put a chip in one of the riders and monitor them. That would be the key right there.
I believe the key in this sport.
Tracking device.
Yeah, but you'd want to monitor them off the track as well as on. You
off the track. Yeah. You got to have that control issue.
Yeah, it's still 90% rider, no matter what. It's still, we got to give them a good motorcycle, but if they don't want it, it's got to be.
Well, and the other thing I was going to say to that is I flew up here in Yamaha Canada when I won Montreal Supercross a couple years, and they said, we're introducing this new bike and we want to debut it in Montreal, and it's going to be a box stock bike. I'm going, okay, let's go for it. I ended up winning on a box stock bike. It was huge, but I remember flying to Toronto and going to the factory, and we actually drove over to Montreal and everything. And Mark Stellybrass was there. He was managing the Yamaha Canada, and John Bayless was there, and all the guys. And, that was huge for him. A lot of guys, I hear a lot of the Canadian riders are out here, oh, we don't have Supercross suspension, or we haven't been riding, or things like that. And I'm talking about here, there's only 2 Canadian guys that are here riding. And we're talking about
Nick Beattie and Cole Thompson.
Yeah, there's 2 guys. And I remember coming up here in racing, and there was a plethora of Canadian riders, but for some reason they don't feel they're ready.
Well, this is, when you were racing Supercross in Canada, it was more of a Canadian field, and I think the tracks were quite a bit different. The tracks even now are
they're gnarly.
They're gnarly. You can take a bike from the showroom and ride motocross. But
here.
You can't take a bike from the showroom and ride Supercross. You need
not now.
Not anymore.
Back then you could.
Back then you might have been able to, but they're motocross built bikes. They're not Supercross built.
Getting back to the sponsorship issue for just a second, we look at the jerseys and you have a lot of different sponsors on there, but when you're selling the sponsorship, I've heard ratios of 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1. For every $1 we give you, we expect a value of 4 back. What are some of the expectations that are put on your team by the sponsors as far as what they're trying to get out of the relationship and running your team?
Well, we have 3 major sponsors, helping this team, and each sponsor wants something different. And that's what really, really makes it unique. You got to juggle the 3 different things. I have NFAB. It's a truck accessory company. They want to build awareness to their brand. They're already nationally distributed through all the major automotive distributors. They're in 4-wheel parts. They're an established big company. They're just like, hey, we want to get our name out there more.
And you can see their pieces on the Toyota trucks that are sitting right here in the arena.
Yeah, they do all the Toyota trucks. They do TRD products. They're affiliated with, really big with Toyota, but they make Jeep products. They make Chevrolet, Ford, everything. So he's got that NASCAR mentality. That's what he's looking for. That
name recognition.
Name recognition. I want my name, my logo. I want people to see it. Tylube is a performance oil company. They're a motocross-based company, and they're looking to gain national recognition. They're looking to build a little bit more, get distribution. So they're like a step below NFAB, but they're a motocross-specific company. And then we've got Yamaha, you know, and Yamaha, they want to sell Yamaha dirt bikes. You know, they want us to put dirt bikes in the main event. So each sponsor has a little different, you know, something different that keeps us on our toes. You know, we got to show performance, we got to show a good product, but yet we have to work with exposure, work with you guys, get the names out there. You know, for each company, it's different.
But you mentioned Ty Lube. I mean, you guys have had a great relationship with Ty Lube. I mean, I want to go off. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but 5 or 6 years you've been associated with Ty Lube?
Yeah, Ty Lube's actually been a brand that it was even behind the scenes at Moto Triple X. They were developing the oil then, and we were testing with it back then. And then, you know, when the whole Moto Triple X thing went away, they stepped up and said, hey, let's keep this ball rolling. You know, we have a lot of the things in place, the infrastructure's there. Let's just keep going, you know, and they've helped me get through the harder times, you know, and I think things are coming around for Supercross. I think things are looking up for Supercross.
All right, before we let you go, there have been a couple of great battles between your rider Bobby Canary and Weston Pike in the last couple of weeks. I was hoping that someone would start a battle of network stars type of thing with Canary and Pike, and I just want to know what other areas Canary would excel in off the bike. Arm wrestling, throwing, football, wall climb, I don't know. What else could Bobby do?
I would say wall climb.
Wall climb?
Maybe not throwing a football.
Well, I can tell you Bob he can outfish him. He likes fishing.
There you go.
Is fishing an event?
Fishing could be an event.
Okay.
Maybe we could take them fishing, but we could make them fish with no fishing rods. They have to grab them with their hands.
Or make them fight for control of the boat. I don't know, something like that.
They could race the boat to the fishing spot.
There you go.
There we go. Alan Brown, thanks for coming up and spending a little bit of your busy afternoon with us here on supercrossonline.com, and good luck with your 3 riders tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Three of your riders in the main event tonight in Toronto.
We're
right?
going for it. We've been
right.
so close.
All
That's what we're
All
going for.
All 3 in the main event.
All right, keep an eye on Chris Bloss, Phil Nicoletti, and Bobby Canary. We'll have much more to come here on Supercross Live. We'll be right back with Michael Lessie's dad. We'll be right back in just a second.
Want to stay up to date with Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship? Then follow all the action of Supercross on Facebook and Twitter. Get real-time updates and stay current on all the Monster Energy Supercross news. Comment on our Facebook wall and tweet us using hashtag Supercross Live. Watch videos from every city during the 2013 Supercross season on YouTube and share your photos on Instagram with hashtag Supercross Live. All season long, our Supercross fans can connect with riders, ask them questions, and even get info from the riders with exclusive information before all the big races. Be sure to check out Monster Energy Supercross on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else.
Our main objective is to make you guys happy, send you home with a smile.
How does he do it? Now it's time to crank the wick up a little bit.
Oh man, here we go.
And another!
Oh,
Ouch. Oh yeah!
Look at this.
The battle is about to begin.
Welcome back to Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. This segment brought to you by the Cross Club. Do you want to be the first to buy 2014 Monster Energy Supercross tickets? You can be if you become a Cross Club member for free today, and you will get first shot at tickets starting on May 6th. That's a Monday. Track walk going on right now.
There's that track walk like we talked about. All these people are getting a good reality check on after watching those free practice and the first time practice. They're getting a chance to walk. Look, they're waving to people up in the hotel and stuff. Hey, I'm down here on the track, and that's pretty cool that Tim Finn there directing that.
Yeah, if you ever get an opportunity to go on a track walk here at Monster Energy Supercross, you should do it. You'll have an all-new appreciation for what it is that these riders do week in and week out. Kevin and Jim taking you through a race day here in Toronto. We're pleased to be joined by our second guest. I said Michael Lessie's dad. That's probably a title you've held for many, many years. The current title is team manager for Moto Concepts, Tony Alessi.
How's it going? Actually, other titles. Crazy Mini Bike Dad. I've heard kind of a lot of other titles along the way.
So we try to stick with the positive stuff here, man.
Yeah, I like the positive.
Hey, Tony, you and I were talking earlier just briefly about this track, and you had some pretty strong opinions about the way that this track is shaping up.
Well, I think the track is it's a really sketchy track tonight, to be honest with you. It's slippery, it's ruddy, it's I hear a lot. I mean, you saw the lights practice there, the Group A practice, and I think 4 of the top 5 guys are on the ground out there. So you're going to have to ride definitely within your limit tonight. If you ride above the limit tonight, you're probably going to not finish the race or have a big crash of some kind.
Which is very hard to do. I mean, you know, as a former rider, when you're out there and, you know, guys are telling you, your team manager, your dad, everybody's telling you, hey, just kind of ride in your own comfort zone, don't push it. But when you get in the heat of the battle, you push it out there.
You have to be smart first and foremost. You know, like I got my Gavin Faith kid there tonight. I'm telling him, I think you're going to be on the podium tonight after watching that first A practice. And I saw, you know, 5 of the good guys, Muskin on the ground. I saw Hahn on the ground. I saw Wharton on the ground. You know, the little Yamaha kid that's first year,
Jeremy Martin,
on the ground, you know. So those are pretty much your key guys, you know. Right. And so I think if you can get a good start here tonight and you can ride within your limits, I think you're going to get a good finish. If you push it tonight, it's going to bite you.
Give us a little insight into Gavin Faith, a guy that I think we knew his name coming into the season, but then all of a sudden at Arlington we saw him win a heat race. Thought, wow, Gavin Faith is really taking it to a new level, but it hasn't stayed at that level through the rest of the year.
Well, we've talked to a lot of riders preseason for that East Coast Lights position, and obviously Gavin was having a really good season in Australia, and we were impressed with the results, and we brought him over, and I gave him a test at our track, and his lap times were solid, and he was really fast on the whoops, you know, and so we thought that would be a good contender for a top 5 for our team for the East Coast, and so far he's been pretty close to that number most of the time. I believe he was in the top 5 qualifying tonight as well, so far, well, practice 1. And, well, one of the problems that Gavin has is he has a little bit of a blood disorder. And so if he uses up too much of, I think it's his hemoglobin or whatever it is, it takes away from his overall energy, you know. So he has to manage that during the night. And obviously that's why he's not an outdoor rider at all. He just rides Supercross.
How does he manage that?
You know, I don't know the specifics of it. I just know it has something to do with hemoglobin. So as long as he keeps the number within the check limit it needs to be at, I think he's usually okay.
I don't think you've ever been accused of not having enough energy.
Me. Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's good as a team manager because you have a lot of different roles and responsibilities. How have you and team owner Mike Genova divided up what has to be accomplished and really gone about constructing an entire program for Mike and for Gavin?
Well, obviously, Mike Genova is a class act, and along with Allison Turner, who does a lot of the promotional part of the team. And essentially, you know, Mike's really involved in the image of the team, what things look like and how they're positioned and placed. And he cares about what the truck looks like, and he's really into that, you know, the uniforms and the all the way down to the shoes matching the uniform. You know, that's his role. He's
a perfectionist.
He's
he
a
likes
perfectionist.
To look good.
He's a perfectionist. He's a top shelf person and operates that way. Obviously, my job is to make sure that the bikes are right, you know, that we have the right maintenance program with the bikes. The mechanics are following the protocol that we have set up for them, that the suspension and the engine is the best that we can achieve.
It was a no-brainer though out on the West Coast. You're 250 rider on the West Coast, and I'm talking about Jake Canada. Last year he had great performances. This year struggled a little bit in the beginning.
Well, he was one of the few riders so far in the Lights West that did record a top 5. So he's had his moments of having good results. But as you know, that West Coast Lights is so stacked in comparison to the East. It's pretty off balance, really, and so it's a lot more difficult environment. If you remember last year, he was obviously on the East Coast riding lights, and he had some strong performances on the East. But there's 7 more guys that could win a race now in the West Coast, so it's difficult.
How do you determine, though, like Gavin Faith riding East or Jake Canada? I know that has a lot to do with injuries and testing. If somebody gets hurt, hey, we're going to transfer you over to this the other coast. How did you come up with Jake Canada on the West and Gavin on the East?
Obviously, during preseason, we do testing. We do riding comparisons for both of the guys. And I always like to put my A guy on the West Coast because the competition is harder. So I put our best foot forward there. So we put our fastest guy there. So Canada was West Coast, and then a Gavin on the East Coast. And I think that it was the right choice.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm going to hole shot it. Tony, I got to ask you, I've been around a long time. You've been around a long time since the Indian Dunes days when I was racing before I turned professional and stuff. And, you used to work for a rubbish company, GI Rubbish, that got bought out by Waste Management. When we were off camera, I was talking to you a little bit about that as far as sponsorship, trying to pull outside sponsorship into Supercross. And I thought that Waste Management would be a good sponsorship.
Well, I think that a lot of the big corporate companies are very concerned with bottom line numbers, and so not always can they, just give money away. You know what I'm saying? So I think if it has some link to where they can improve their business, then they're going to be involved. Waste Management, of the world are very government regulated. They have contracts with cities and state, and so that's not really where their money's coming from, the private sector. Their money comes from their contracts with individual cities and states, and so you have to attach yourself to an outside sponsor that is selling a product to the public, so that they can make sense out of, a $200,000 investment, that they're going to say, well, we're going to make this investment in $200,000 and we're going to get this much TV time for Supercross and this much TV time for motocross. And, I can look at that like it's a commercial, and I would be saving this much money if that guy's going to be on TV, i.e. a Mike Alessi who is leading races, what I'm saying? And, when you're leading races and you have that billboard out there, whatever it might be, and in our case it's Smart Top, which is our team's primary sponsor, we're getting a commercial out there, at every event. So it's a good repayment on your investment, whereas I think when you're dealing with companies that don't deal with the public, they're not as apt to want to get involved.
Interesting.
Motocross and Supercross fans are used to seeing the Alessi family out at races. They're used to seeing Mike and also Jeff, but we haven't seen Jeff this year. When will we see Jeff on a bike again?
Well, Jeff Alessi obviously wants his number back, number 801.
801.
And I would say that's probably something that's in his mind, and obviously the way the current system works, if you earn a 2-digit number, Jeff Alessi earned 89 last year, you are required to run it. And if you are out of for a season, for example, and then you're eligible for a 3-digit number again, which I think is part of his motivation. But I would say for the most part, he's enjoying his weekends off. He's able to teach some schools during the week, and he enjoys that, and then to the lake to go fishing.
There you go.
Oh, very good. Maybe he and Bobby Canary could put a little competition.
Yeah,
again.
there you go. Something else that we forgot to talk about, and I don't want to leave her out, and that's Mike's wife. She's a big part of that team over there with you guys with the Moto Concepts team, and she does a great job. I mean, she's the calm.
Yeah, she is definitely the calm, and she doesn't come from nowhere. I mean, obviously she's a third generation from 3 generations of racing. Her grandfather was a professional desert racer. Her dad was a professional desert racer. So she's been around the racing program her whole life, from diapers. And so she knows it. She lives it. And so obviously she's heavily involved in Mike's nutrition and his day-to-day, for lack of better words, rider maintenance. She takes care of all the maintenance part of the athletic part of it.
Well, now I heard you mention diapers. Is there any chance that in the near future you might be a grandfather? I mean, does Mike talk about that with his wife? Does he want to start a family? Does he want to get You know, I mean, he was the first one, the KTM Junior Supercross Challenge. I thought it'd be pretty cool if he has a son. Maybe we could see him out here in 7 or 8 years riding the KTM Junior Supercross Challenge.
Well, obviously anything is possible.
Right.
And yeah, I have to say that was exciting. The first ever KTM Supercross Challenge, and Mike won that over Dennis Jonan. I don't know if you remember that, but and I remember that Mike was actually sick. He had the flu. He was just sick, and he won that race, and it was pretty exciting. I have to say, for anybody that's going to do that, or any parents that are going to do that, it's a big thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, in terms of what he wants to do in his future with a family, anything's possible. So I don't know. I would say it's not going to happen anytime soon, because obviously we're busy racing right now.
Mike, we've seen a lot of teams out here attach themselves to a brand even if they don't have brand sponsorship. You guys have gone the opposite direction, been very independent, running your own color plastics, and you're really developing your own brand, the Moto Concepts brand. Why the choice to go that way?
Well, Kevin, as you're aware, or may not be aware, Suzuki, which is a great bike and a great team, they don't offer any contingency at the professional level. So when we're out there racing right now, if we get a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, whatever it is, there's no contingency. They do have support for amateurs and for arena cross, but no contingency at all for professional racing. So obviously it really doesn't make a lot of sense to promote a brand that's not, doing their part. You know what I'm saying? They're not supporting the riders that are here at professional racing. So I think that's probably the big part. And then obviously the second part, since Mike Genova, the team owner, is investing a lot of his money for the promotion of our team, then of course we're going to promote his company, which is Smart Top and Leisure Concepts and Moto Concepts, and and they have good products. Moto Concepts with the floor mats are cool. Have you seen the bike stands that they have? They're really lightweight, and goggles, and so they have a lot of stuff. And so since his money is invested in our program, then obviously that's where we want to support.
Tony Alessi is a man of many titles, currently team manager for Moto Concepts. And you mentioned Crazy Mini Dad. I've never heard of Crazy Mini Grandpa.
Crazy Mini Grandpa. Well, actually, maybe. Ricky Carmichael's, well, he's passed now, but I remember him at Budds Creek at that one race that James Stewart and Ricky had that big knockdown, drag-out battle. First moto, Ricky throwing his goggles and got beat in that first moto, and I saw a fired-up Ricky Carmichael Grandpa. And then he came back and actually won that second moto, and I remember hearing the word something like, "He ain't gonna beat my boy," and that didn't happen. Ricky went out there and got it done in the second moto. It was pretty gnarly.
Very good. Tony Alessi, thank you for your time. Best of luck tonight with Mike Alessi and Gavin Faith.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us on.
See you,
Tony Alessi. We'll be right back here on Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com.
sport bikes in your blood? Do you like the power? Think 2 wheels are way better than 4? Well, how'd you like to turn your love of high-performance motorcycles into a kick-butt career? You can, right here at MMI. Come on. At MMI, you're going full throttle with intense hands-on training programs. Our students work hard, study hard, and it pays off. When you graduate here, you're going to be ready to work. MMI teams up with all the big boys: Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, BMW Motorrad, Suzuki, and Harley-Davidson. You train on their bikes using the latest technology and equipment, and you have the opportunity to earn manufacturer and dealer recognition. Hey, you're only going to get that kind of training right here at MMI. We've graduated more technicians over the last 10 years than all the other schools combined. That's a whole lot of techs doing what they love. If bikes are in your DNA, then you should be working on these bad boys. Pick up the phone and let's talk about programs, campuses, and financial aid. You ready to ride? Let's go. Call now.
Welcome back to Supercross Online, Supercross Live here, and if you want to be a part of MMI, this is an opportunity you don't want to miss, a $20,000 scholarship. The McGrath Scholarship is available right now. Go to youtube.com/McGrath Scholarship today and upload a video of you doing something to get some attention. Dance, rap, get costumed up, do something crazy. A Harlem Shake probably wouldn't hurt if you have an opportunity to win this $20,000 scholarship. Also, be sure you tell Jeremy McGrath why you should win and what you will do with your education should you win the McGrath Scholarship to Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Welcome back inside our studio, Kevin Barnett and Jim Holley. We just had an opportunity to talk to a couple of team managers. Now we have a rider mechanic up here, and happens to be a graduate of MMI, Brian Kalama. And Brian, you've been a mechanic for Kevin Windham. We know Kevin Windham retired. What are you doing now? I mean, transfers, all you have to do is get the bike ready for transfers, right?
Yeah, the transfer thing only keeps me mildly busy on the weekends just before opening ceremonies, but they got a lot of things going on at the shop, and I'm still building 450 engines for some of our riders, and that keeps me busy during the week, and then I'm just here on the weekends to support Kevin.
And you say building engines, each week, people, I don't know if they understand, you guys tear the entire bike down, the entire motor down, and go through it again, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything gets, gone through with a fine-tooth comb, and we look at everything and make sure everything's good to go for the next weekend, and rotate out parts as they time out and keep the things as fresh as can be for the riders every weekend.
Is that something when you're a graduate of MMI, you and Adam, I remember when you guys came up, and a lot of graduates. One of the other mechanics for Eli, he's a graduate also.
Yeah, he is.
Brian Krantz.
Yep, that's right.
And, you guys, I mean, the technology that you bring over to Supercross as far as your mechanical skills, I mean, you've earned that as a graduate from MMI.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I first came in, they were transitioning from 2-strokes to 4-strokes, and I started out right on the 2004 CRF 450, and I've worked on that bike quite a few years now since it came out, and the 4-stroke knowledge that they give you there really helped out, because like I said, it was a transitional period, and it just gave you a lot of knowledge on cam timing and everything else that was going on with the 4-strokes then.
How have you kept up with your education? Because you mentioned going from 2-stroke to 4-stroke, and then you had also going from carbureted to fuel injected. This seems like something you'd have to continually invest in education and training along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the technology keeps growing. I mean, things advance over the years, and I mean, the fuel injection thing was huge for us for Supercross. I mean, the carburation was always very difficult to get the tuning right. You had to pretty much, you're changing jets every week to get that thing perfect, because I mean, Supercross is very demanding as far as carburation goes, and when it became EFI, it was a huge help for us. I mean, it just made our lives that much easier, but then it's more, it's not so much jets, it's laptops and mapping and that kind of thing.
Well, and something else, though, too, it was also the hands-on training. I'm sure that you guys have, you talk about cam timing, maybe you get the tooth off a little bit, and there, boom, there goes the valve right through the piston. You go, oh, man, I just ruined that good head.
Absolutely.
How many times have you done that as far as testing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things like that it's a lot of trial and error, and, you don't know something works until maybe something goes wrong first. So, I mean, those things happen, and it's pretty costly when it does.
What are some of the areas of the motor that people who do some of their own service and maintenance on their bikes should keep an eye on, or some of the things that they should be aware of that are going on in these motors?
I mean, a lot of the things is, keep an eye on your valve adjustments. I mean, that's a huge thing, because, I mean, if your valve train wears out and you got to replace valves, I mean, I'm sure I don't know the retail side of things, but
it's expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. But usually, I mean, a valve is just $200, and you have 4 of them and sometimes 5 of them. So I mean, that can be very costly.
Yeah, something else, the Hondas and a lot of the manufacturers, they have titanium valves, where, as I know in some of the off-road bikes, they run steel valves. And steel valves, you can get a lot more longevity out of them if you're a trail rider or somebody out there, but yet you don't have that performance, that you have with the titanium valve. But, Kevin, I mean, for the most part, and Brian, I'm sure they tell you this day one, on the 4-strokes, you got to change that oil. That oil is recycling through the whole motor. It's going from the top end to the transmission.
That's the heart of it, yeah.
And then the other thing would obviously be the air filter. I mean, somebody sucks in sand, just like on a 2-stroke. On a 4-stroke, it ruins the motor when you suck in sand.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to eat up your valve train, and like I said, that's already very, very costly. So,
break down a week for us in a normal race week when Kevin was riding and some other guys you're helping out now, from the time the race is over on Sunday to the time you get up here and it's time to come out for qualifying.
Yeah, usually, I mean, you do your race weekend, and then on Sundays you try and build your bike depending on weather. You go to a different city. You try and build your bikes on Sunday through the truck, and you usually have an engine that's going straight in. I mean, and you tear down the bike completely. So the engine's already there to reassemble the motorcycle.
A different engine.
A different engine, yeah. So you usually have 2 or 3 engines rotating. So you have something fresh, and you got to deal with the shipping and everything else that goes along with it. But on Sunday, you rebuild your motorcycle, take it down to the frame and inspect and change any parts as necessary, and then you roll into the weekend.
How many hours is that taking you?
Usually it's about a day to do the chassis with just putting the engine in, and then it's a whole nother day at the shop to rebuild the engine during the week. So Sunday, you get your bike done. Monday, you fly home, and then Tuesday, say you build your engine that's already back at the shop from the week prior. So you're trying to, juggle all these things so it works smoothly, and you're not, paying too much money on overnight shipping and things like that. So that's, it's a juggling process, but you make it work, and it's a day for your chassis, a day for your engine, and then, you have half a day to, do any miscellaneous stuff that you might want to try and, get ahead of.
Well, which would be maybe if you have to rebuild the head, putting the valves in, everything, the keepers, the springs, and getting that done. My question is, when you drop that new motor in, does it already have some break-in time on it?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a dyno at our shop, and we run everything and make sure everything's up to spec and that thing's ready to go. You make sure you put time on it before it gets shipped out and then in the motorcycle for them to ride on.
How similar are the motors? Are they pretty spec the same, or do you have one motor that's a little stronger than the other, perhaps on the bottom end or the top end?
There's always a little bit of variances in cylinder heads. It's hard to get them, spot on, but they're very close. Especially the race engines are as close as they can be to being exactly the same, so they don't feel any different for the rider.
One of the most interesting things I ever saw in a race shop was at Joe Gibbs Racing. I had an opportunity to see their transmission bay for the cars, and they had each transmission laid out. There was 100 of them or something in there, and they had markings on them where they were run and when they were run. How much specific information do you have from each track and each type of dirt that you might select a certain type of a certain motor or a certain clutch or something when you're going to that venue?
For motocross, there's not too many variances in that. You can do a lot of things. From Supercross to outdoors, there's going to be some changes, but as far as transmission gear ratios, you're not going to change too much for just the Supercross setting.
Okay. More gearing.
You change. Final drive. Rear sprocket type stuff.
Put like a 48 or a 49 on the rear, as opposed to a 50, 51, or even a 52 on some of the tracks on the rear. But the clutches, you hear a lot of people talk about clutches and getting good starts and everything, how key a start is in Supercross. But you guys change clutches a lot. There's some times where I've heard that guys change the clutches in between the heat race and the main event.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then sometimes, I've done it with Kevin before, that first time untimed practice where you only have 8 minutes on the bike. You pull that clutch out, so it's already had some time in and a heat soak, and it's ready to go for the main event. So there's no variance.
I've heard some rumors about clutches that some guys are running auto clutches versus a standard clutch. Is that true? And how many guys do you think are running that?
I've heard of a couple guys running it, and then it's kind of more of a preference thing. It's not so much, a performance thing sometimes. If a rider likes it, everyone likes kind of different things on setting-wise. Like, say, Bell's 250F isn't probably set up exactly the same as Will's. Mm-hmm. But it's more of a preference thing, and some people like it and some people don't.
What are some of the challenges that you as a mechanic face through the day, or perhaps with the bike, indoors versus outdoors, SX versus MX?
Supercross generally is relatively easy. It's a longer day. It's spread out more. Outdoors is a little bit more hectic. It's fast-paced. You know, if there's a crash or an engine, like a rock or something like that broke the cases, it's a little bit more of a scramble to get things together. But at Supercross, you have more time between practices and qualifying sessions if you're going to change suspension settings or anything like that. So you have more time to regroup. Where outdoors, it's you know, you wake up in the morning at 8 a.m. and you're at the track and you're pretty much wide open all day.
Well, that and the other thing, you're dealing with the elements outside.
Absolutely,
I mean, it could be
yeah.
100 degrees, it could be raining, but something I wanted to say, what some of the tracks that we go to, the stadiums aren't covered like we have here in Toronto, and it's a pouring mud race. I mean, those races are basically, I mean, you're talking wheel bearings you got to re-put in new on all the bikes. I mean, even more time you got to spend on maintenance of the bike to get it ready for the next weekend. Or is it a thing where it's just, hey, you know what, we're not inspecting these wheel bearings, we're going to put a whole different wheel on, and we'll get to that later, and then we'll rebuild that wheel?
Yeah, sometimes you got to pick and choose what you can and can't do. Obviously, put the best motorcycle under them as possible, but yeah, you know, obviously a Daytona race where it's downpouring rain like in 08 we had, and then even in 2012, I mean, that's a lot of wear and tear, and you're going to change a lot more parts than a normal dome race where the bike barely gets dirty.
Well, and something else that Kevin and I, we talk about when we're doing Supercross Live and you're watching the time practices and the practices, guys will go into the pits and basically they're just changing clickers, compression, rebound on the I mean, you're not doing anything other than that, correct?
Yeah, generally, I mean, on a typical day, I mean, the tracks don't vary too much. You're not going to make huge changes. I mean, sometimes you're going to go into the valving, and that's the suspension guy's job. That's not my job. I'm just, you know, taking the suspension off and handing them to them, and they're discussing settings. But, yeah, generally, hopefully, you know, you're within the range of just a click or two here and there, and you're ready to go.
But you're not like putting it up on the stands. I mean, sometimes I'll see a guy will change the tire and maybe a gearing change. I'll see that. And then other times I'll see maybe the front forks, you know, they'll suck them up a little bit, a couple millimeters to get it to turn a little quicker. But that's basically about it when they're going down there and talking to you guys. I mean, Kevin comes in for us, he says, Brian, man, this thing's not turning. This thing is just not turning. And you go, well, it's not going down, it's not settling. Okay, let me adjust, because you can't do too many adjustments because then you don't know what works.
Yeah, and you don't have a lot of time. I mean, they're only 10-minute sessions, so I mean, as far as making a change, if you're pulling the forks up, it's going to take you at least 2 minutes to try and do that. And you know, the clicker changes quickly, obviously, and sometimes you have to wait till the next session to make that big change.
Is being a mechanic sometimes thankless? Because it seems like you can set up a situation where if there's a motor failure, it's all on you, and you think about that forever. But yet, when the bike wins, the rider wins, and the bike did what it was expected to do, maybe not anything beyond. So it doesn't seem like there's any upside to that as a mechanic. Is that tough sometimes?
I mean, it's tough, but I mean, obviously, I mean, if your rider knows that you're working hard and doing your best, and he appreciates that. I mean, just the wins I've gotten with Kevin, I mean, that's all the thanks I really need. I mean, that is the best feeling in the world to get those wins in the 450 class. So.
Well, and some of those wins, I'll come over and I'll shake your hand on the bike.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I know what it takes, you know, on the mechanical side of things. Because as a former rider, I know that, hey man, 50% the rider, 50% the mechanic. Because like you said, you can make a mistake or Kevin can make a mistake or whatever. But I mean, you guys are the unsung heroes on putting those bikes together. And I think that it's great that you came on the show today to tell people on, you know, how hard it is to maintain a bike. But something you know, you and Adam are both graduates of MMI, and it's interesting how you got into the motor side of things. And I'm drawing a blank on Adam's last name right now.
Walters.
Walters, that's right. And he works for Showa on the suspension side of things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, both MMI graduates, but went two different ways.
Different directions,
Different specialties.
In the end, just on the motorcycle. So, I mean, it's great. You know, Adam's obviously done a good job, and he's worked with some great riders and won championships with doing the suspension for the Suzuki team.
All right, we've been pleased to have Kevin Windham up here quite a bit this year. And now TV's starting to steal him from us, so he's making the night show. He's again making the night program. Do you have any good Kevin Windham stories for us? Does one stick out in your mind, your time spent with him?
I mean, I got great Kevin Windham stories. I mean, he's become a really good friend of mine. I spent a lot of time at his house, and, you know, just, I mean, 5-6 years on the road with the guy, and, you know, winning races and the ups and downs of everything. I mean, he's like a big brother to me. So, I mean, I've had a great time working for him, and, you know, it's definitely a sad day when he retired.
Yeah, that had to have been hard for you. I mean, were you the first to know, or maybe his wife, he told her first?
I mean,
let's hope that Dottie knew first.
Yeah.
Definitely between me and Dottie. I mean, we were both we were all discussing it leading into the season, and then even getting a couple rounds in, and just knowing his mindset, I kind of saw which way it was probably going to go, but I didn't know it was going to happen that soon.
What's next for you then, with Kevin moving on after this year?
Well, I plan on staying with the Geico Honda team, and hopefully we continue to do more 450 stuff in the future. And just I'm not going to probably take on another rider, and Kevin will be the last rider I ever work for, but probably stay in-house and build some engines and help on the R&D side of the 450s.
And we'll see at the races, though. I mean, not all of them, but
Yeah.
Anaheims and stuff. You'll go,
yeah,
and they'll
absolutely.
fly you in.
I'll probably still go to all the Supercrosses and as many outdoors as I can, but I have a 2-year-old at home too, and I definitely enjoy spending time at home with him now.
All right, Brian Coleman, mechanic for Kevin Windham. Thanks for spending a little time with us here on
Thank you,
Supercross
guys.
Live.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, Brian.
All right.
Motorcycle Mechanics Institute graduate, longtime mechanic here on Monster Energy Supercross, and always great to hear from the different voices, Jim, around this sport and the different people in this sport who make it go. We get a chance to watch the riders and the bikes, but there's so much that goes into making this possible.
Well, and we talk a little bit about, you know, the experience that I have and how long I've been around the sport, watching riders grow up. I've watched mechanics grow up. I remember watching him and Adam when they came to the Motorsport Outlet, and Bill Tanner was the team manager over there, and just, you know, they were just fresh off of the MMI, and to see them develop into, you know, engine builders, and Adam Walters, you know, doing the suspension for Showa, you know, and winning on championship teams at Suzuki when Dungey was there and stuff. I mean, it's just pretty cool to watch their careers to grow up, and it's hard as a mechanic. I mean, you know, you don't think that those guys, you know, the riders don't sleep the night before the race. The mechanics are probably worse because they're thinking, man, did I adjust those valves? Did I do that right? Did I set this up? Oh, I forgot something. And you know, it's hard to do that. I remember when I was riding, my dad, I'd get up to go to a local race, and he'd just be still in the garage. He says, I was laying in bed, and I thought I left the wrist pin clip out of the piston.
Yeah.
So I went back in the garage and retore about the whole motorcycle, and it was in there, but I just didn't want to let you go out on a motorcycle and have a problem with it breaking. So, I mean, these guys, the mechanics, they really feel for the riders. I mean, it's just not like you know, you ride, but you're your mechanic, or maybe someone else works on the bike to change out things, but they're just doing that. All right, here you go, Kevin, it's done. But, you know, these guys out here, their lives are on the line out here when they're racing. I mean, this is a dangerous sport, and the mechanics, you know, they definitely don't want to make a mistake.
And you get a small feel for the relationship between and the kinship between mechanics and riders. We have much more to come here on Supercross Live. Of course, you heard practice getting underway behind us. We'll go through our second round of qualifying. We'll be right back on Supercross Live in just a second.
Have you downloaded the brand new Monster Energy Supercross mobile app yet? Get race info and results, buy tickets, watch videos, play trivia, and more, all right from your smartphone. Search Monster Energy Supercross on Apple iTunes or Google Play stores to download it for free today.
Welcome back to Supercross Live. We want you to know that this segment is brought to you by the Nuclear Cowboys. The 2013 Nuclear Cowboys Tour heads to Ontario, California on April 5th through the 7th. Go to nuclearcowboys.com for more information. That's Cowboys with a Z. We also want you to know that this is not the end of the streaming opportunities for you today. Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam Live, for the very first time, is being broadcast from the Monster Jam World Finals out there at Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas. They're doing it from the Party in the Pits. To give you a feel for what it's like to attend one of these Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam events. They're going to be on the NGK Sparkplugs main stage. They're going to have interviews from last year's racing and freestyle champions. They'll have behind-the-scenes commentary, the Monster Mutt Dalmatian Fashion Show,
nice.
The Mascot Challenge, and more. This sounds like a really good time. So check it out, 5:30 Eastern to 8:30 Eastern on monsterjam.com/monsterjamlive. That is Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam World Finals happening now. That's just the pre-show. That's not the actual event itself, but you can really get a feel for that event. A very fun event to go to out there at Monster Jam.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You mentioned, Gravedigger will be down there. You get a chance to see that. Maximum Destruction, all the big trucks there, the Air Force truck. It's just pretty cool that to be able to go to Las Vegas. But we're here in Toronto, and we're having a good time here in Toronto.
My kids love the Monster Mutt. That's their favorite, Monster Mutt. Anything with ears hanging off it like that is a lot of fun. So 250 C group practice out there right now, just about done. That's the 811 of Vaughn Mays out of Genoa City, Wisconsin. He's on the Southeast Sales KTM. Update on the times here, 3:95. That's Taylor Potter. We've talked about him before from Warrenwood, Australia. Another one of these Australians coming over and making a name for themselves on a KTM. He's best right now at 1:04. That's 1 minute 4 seconds.
There's our buddy 961 in fifth there, Nick Beattie, putting in a good time. 1:04.2 it looks like, so that's a good time for him.
So there's Bitterman, Malatia, Weishar, Beattie, Lang, Mays, Mason, Anthony, Hapner, Lumsden, Johnson, and Vonlinger. That finishing out 250 C practice. So a few of these guys may get themselves in to the night program, into that top 40. This is one of those events, Jim, where only 4 riders are not going to make the night show. So a good opportunity for riders to enter. And I think you and I both have expressed our surprise that there are but 2 Canadians, Nick Beattie being one of them, who have entered this event.
Yeah, I mean,
Cole Thompson on the 48 being the other one.
Yeah, you talk a little bit about, and Alan Brown, when he was on the show earlier, talked a little bit about, well, the guys aren't ready, they don't have their suspension or whatever, but, go to last year's suspension, and at least if, come out here and ride. I mean, the track is, it's a great track to come get some experience on. I mean, we've always talked about it, that getting into that main event, how important it is in the 250 class to get 15 more laps of track time, because they don't get the track time up here in Canada. So I'm great that Nick and Nick Beattie and also Cole Thompson. That these guys are here riding, but these guys started. They went down south. They were practicing in Florida and Georgia, and then they went to Arlington. They've been following the series.
Yeah, that's a must. There is Zach Williams on the 874. He's on a KTM.
You see some of the guys, they opt not to compress their forks to try this start. Some of the other guys do. You can just see the way the bike angle is.
385, Adam Gully. His brother's not here, but Adam continues to ride on the DG Flooring Kawasaki. 675 out front there on the Kawasaki. That's Kyle Hussey. Big St. Charles Motorsports Kawasaki entry.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're holding this practice up. Everything looks good as far as the track. It's clear. It's ready to go. They might be looking at some cable issues with the timing and scoring.
So here comes 250B, practice number 2.
See in the whoops, that one line there over to the right, it's got a rut going right down the middle of it, and it's developing into just like we had last weekend in Indianapolis. So that might be the fast way through it.
I had an opportunity to go down on the track afterwards, and looking at the rut through the whoops was amazing. That thing was deeper than half a wheel.
Well, the problem is when you get in those ruts, you got to remember that your foot pegs on the other side are starting to hit the ground, if it's that deep. So, you're scrubbing off a lot of speed if you're dragging your foot pegs through there. But a lot of these guys have, skid plates on them. Very important to have a skid plate, because we were seeing that free practice, the C practice in the 250, a lot of guys were coming up short on some of the triples. Well, if you ever look at a motorcycle underneath the cradle of the frame, if you have a nice smooth surface, which is a skid plate, when you hit that and you come up, it skids off of it. If you don't have that, that mud comes up and grabs and jars the bike, and it takes believe it or not, having a skid plate is very important in Supercross. A lot of guys in the desert used to run them for skid plates for rocks and things like that, but it serves a different purpose here in Supercross.
Yeah, the last thing you want is to have your bike disappear out from under you on the landing from a triple. That is 556, Brady Kiesel out of Fort Worth, Texas. He is on that 1110 Mods Yamaha.
Kiesel putting it together here. I'm going to be interesting to see what his lap time is when he comes around, because he made sure he got that whole shot, little wheelie coming out of there, little double into that corner. Here's that other set of whoops. Across the line. He's on it right now.
Jim, it looks to me like this section here, the timing section.
Oh, hang on. Whoa. Came up a little short, but he muscled it through.
And also that short section of whoops looked like an area where time could be lost or gained.
Yep. Let's see. Here he comes. A 104.5.
Immediately bested by Hussey at a 103.7. All these riders crossing for the first time in this session. First time lap of this session. Nick Click on the 508, now up there in second, and the 104. Right behind Kyle Hussey. Remind you, we just had an opportunity to talk to Brian Kalm, a graduate of Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, that the McGrath Scholarship is once again available. That is a $20,000 scholarship to the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Perhaps a new career for you, an opportunity to maybe get involved in Monster Energy Supercross. Go to McGrath Scholarship. That would be youtube.com/McGrath Scholarship, and enter a video today. McGrath himself, Jeremy McGrath, the champ, will pick the winner.
We forgot to ask Brian when he was on here if he made a video. I don't think back then when he went to school they had that Jeremy McGrath scholarship, but that's a nice scholarship that they have, for somebody, who doesn't have the opportunity to and have the resources as far as the funds to get to school. Just make a great video, make it good.
Jim, it seems like the way you qualify for Monster Energy Supercross next season, going through Amsoil Arena Cross, makes it even harder for Canadian riders now that they have to actually come down and go through another tour in the States. Do you think that's the case? Or do you think that the way it's set up now, where there are various different paths to getting your pro license and an opportunity to compete in Monster Energy Supercross are perhaps just as arduous as competing on another tour?
Well, I mean, we're in Toronto, Canada, Ontario, Providence. A lot of the arena crosses are back east, so it's not that bad of a drive.
So maybe it gets easier.
That's what I'm thinking, and the key is I like the Amsoil Arena Cross Series because of the fact that you're going there and you're racing. If you go down south and you go to a Millsaps track or a Milestone and you're living in Los Angeles or whatever and practicing there, you're practicing. You're not racing. That's the key right there, to get into the AMSOIL Arena Cross and start racing and building the points so you can, when Supercross comes, you're ready to go.
Building the points and building the confidence with a lot of obstacles that are similar to what a rider will see out here on Monster Energy Supercross. Todd Krieg on that 531, Mun Racing KTM. You're getting an opportunity to see his second qualifying effort today.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, they'll if they've already got their professional license and there's an arena cross close by, they'll go there and do a tune-up race before heading down to Arlington or whatever.
Ryan Zimmer right now, your leader here in 250 Group B practice. 12 riders in this group. He's at a 103.5. Followed by Ozzy Barbary. Then it's Kyle Hussey, Adam Gully. Then Krieg, Click, McEwen, Kuhn, Kiesel, Bueller, Johnson, and Williams. 250B class qualifying effort. Number 2 here in Toronto, the Rogers Center, host of this round of Monster Energy Supercross Championship. Make sure we thank our guests who came on today. We had Alan Brown, team manager for NFAB Tylube Yamaha. We also had Tony Alessi, team manager of Moto Concepts. And also Brian Kalma, graduate of Motorcycle Mechanics Institute and the mechanic for Kevin Windham. Kevin Windham will be on the live speed broadcast tonight. Remember, you can catch the race live on speed starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Ralph, Jeff, and Kevin. It is Kyle Hussey on the 675 who just finished a lap, but he remains in second. That was his fastest and best lap so far, 103.551. About 3 minutes to go here in 250B practice number 2. Go ahead and subscribe today and you'll get all the video updates as they appear on race day and throughout the week. YouTube.com/Supercross Live is the place and $0 is the cost.
As well as the Cross Club members. Zero cost.
Zero cost and lots of benefits.
You will get the benefits. Yep.
You will get first shot at tickets for next year, and that will happen May 6th, Monday, May 6th, after the big conclusion, after the big final race in Las Vegas. You will have an opportunity to purchase tickets for the following year.
And don't forget, 3 of them eligible for the awards ceremony on May 5th after the final on May 4th. So that's a big opportunity right there. I mean, just to come in and have a drink with Kevin Windham.
A very special opportunity to be a member of that celebration, that season-ending celebration.
And it's right back to work for the guys Monday morning, though. Well, Monday, they might take off Monday. Tuesday, they're starting to get ready and gear up for those outdoor races.
Right, outdoor testing already underway. This is the time when you will find riders out pounding out motos. In California, a place like Cahuilla Creek, they will be out there pounding out motos on the outdoors. Not a lot of Supercross testing to be done.
Glenn Helen, Joe Sutter out at, he's got a private track out in Somas. I know Team Honda tests out there a lot. It's a very great track to test on. A lot of elevation changes, a lot of sand, a lot of ruts. It's just a 3-minute lap time. Very hard to get to a track and get a 3-minute lap time, which, traditionally the outdoors, 2:30, 2:40 or so. So a 3-minute lap time, a great place to go at Sutterville, I like to call it.
874, Zach Williams out of Elko, Minnesota.
He's going to be happy we're going to Minnesota here in a few weeks.
Will be a hometown race. Minneapolis coming up in just about 3 weeks' time. Of course, we have Easter coming up next weekend, the only off weekend in Monster Energy Supercross. So enjoy the eggs, enjoy the chocolate rabbits, and it's right back to work for these guys. We will head to Houston and Reliant Stadium, then at Minneapolis and the Metrodome, followed by Seattle, Salt Lake, and Las Vegas.
You know, you mentioned we forgot to talk about it. We talked a little bit about the weekend off. I forgot the outdoors. They're probably outdoor testing next weekend.
That's true. Maybe they get Sunday off, but it's time to start pounding out some 30-minute motos and getting in shape
30
for the outdoor program. Pardon me, 30 plus 2.
Right.
35-minute motos.
See, that's what I'm saying. So when I'm out there pounding out when I used to ride, they were 40-minute motos plus 2. So I'd have to go ride for 45 minutes.
That's kind of like the old days, Jim. I remember my mom used to walk uphill both ways in the driving snow to school.
That's right.
Seems like an odd choice to me.
Yeah, we'd get a snowmobile.
There you go.
That's it. This one's over. Hopefully you boys have got a good time to get you in the night show.
Adam Gully just put one down, a 103.23. So Adam Gully throws down a time on his last lap. Takes the checkered flag and goes atop the leaderboard. He's followed by Barbary, then Zimmer, Hussey, Krieg, Bueller, Click, McEwen, Kuhn, Williams, Kiesel, and Johnson.
We got to ask Gully where his brother is. I wonder why his brother's not up here. Maybe he's got an injury, had a practice crash during the week. But usually those guys, very hard to tell those guys apart.
Twins.
Both
wear their chest protectors to the track walk. They are ready. You don't want to catch any roost, the stray rock on the track walk.
I was thinking maybe next time we see him on the track walk, I was going to pick up some rocks and throw them at him just to kind of get him used to the roost coming off of the rear wheel.
Maybe he'll go hand guards at some point. Just hold them.
Hey, you know, something I saw online. Nice article with you on Racer X. Pretty cool article.
Yeah, it's a nice achievement for me. I'm pretty stoked on that I got myself into the magazine. I weaseled my way in here and become a part of the sport and really starting to feel at home. And thanks to you for a lot of that.
And the other thing is Jason Wagon. He's not here. I know he's listening to us right now back in North Carolina. Got to give a shout out to Jason, the Ouija out there.
Your former partner?
Better be listening to us, Ouija.
Yeah, well, maybe he's playing with the family. Maybe he's doing something else. Maybe he's out on a ride out back. Ouija told me he wanted to have 50 ride days this year.
Really?
Yeah.
50?
Once a week.
Wow.
Roughly once a week he wanted to get out and do it. So I got to check in with him each week, see if he's got an opportunity to get out there. You got 50 ride days in this week?
No.
This year, I mean?
I don't even have 5 days in.
You don't have enough forearm skin left after that desert trip.
No, I count that as last year. That was in December, so that was part of my December riding. But,
okay, very good.
You know, to be honest, I don't think I've ridden this year.
Oh,
Since
man.
January 1, I don't think so.
I haven't either. Been too busy being here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go out though. I'm gonna go out.
All right, I'm going to try and make it out with you. We hope you're having an opportunity to make it out on the weekends when you're not here with us on Supercross Live. And remember, there's a lot of streaming going on today in addition to the race coverage that we're providing you here, which covered a start to the day with an opening bit from Jim and I. First look at the track, followed by rider interviews. And now this show will have the AMSOIL podium interviews later in the night from here in Toronto, as well as a post-race wrap-up. But a half an hour after this show concludes, you have an opportunity to check out what it's like to be at the Party at the Pits at the Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam World Finals. Huge event going on at Sam Boyd Stadium out there in Las Vegas. Of course, the same venue that will host the final round of 2013 Monster Energy Supercross. But tune in that on monsterjam.com/monsterjamlive, and you will have a chance to get a feel for that event. That's a fun event. My kids love the monster trucks, getting out there, crushing cars, jumping high, doing all kinds of really entertaining stuff. They'll have interviews, they'll have competitions, and all kinds of fun stuff. So be sure to check that out just a half hour after our program concludes at 5 o'clock. I want to take a short break here on Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. We'll be right back. We have 250A, 450A, and 450B coming up right after the turn.
The 2012 Monster Energy Supercross season was packed with the most competitive field of riders ever assembled.
Villapoto, Reed, Dungey, Stewart.
Round after round, the top riders staked their claim to be the best in the world.
Ryan Villapoto's done it! He wins back-to-back season openers in Anaheim! Ryan Dungey and KTM have won! 2-2 Motorsports gets their first win of 2012! Chad Reed's a winner!
While also fighting to persevere through the ultimate test in survival.
Oh! Reed goes right over the bars! James Stewart is down! Oh, down goes Villapoto!
With Bar to Bar 2012, you can relive all the incredible Bar to Bar battles.
Villapoto stumbles off the corner! Reed's right there! Dungey charges right back! Oh, Villapoto took a shot and it didn't work! He cuts inside! The crowd goes crazy!
The game-changing crashes and the championship dominance of Ryan Villapoto.
The 2012 Monster Energy AMA Supercross FIM World Championship goes to the Monster Energy Supercross rider, Ryan Villapoto.
Featuring racing recaps from every round.
Here we go, dropping the gate and underway here in Phoenix. Here we go from Dodger Stadium. Dungey, new leader in Atlanta.
And exclusive bonus features, including extended one-on-one rider interviews and East and West Lights highlights. It's Bar to Bar 2012.
Reed really putting on the heat on Stewart now. Can Dungey get KTM their second win? Ryan Villapoto's done it again in 2012.
Available now on supercrossonline.com.
Back to Toronto. Welcome back into Supercross Live as Blake Wharton crosses the finish line, trying to move up here in 250A practice number 2. Guys out running some hot laps. Practice just underway, just a minute 10.
Yeah, you can watch him. He's attacking this course here. He's going to go in here. He's going to go outside. Seat hop triple. Does he make it? Hopefully he does. Vince Freezy right behind him. But Wharton is on a tear right now. There's Freezy attacking it. Turn the throttle on. Let's go. Double, triple. Get that thing back onto the ground. Get the power on.
Blake Wharton said he took a walk out in the woods and he burned up all that negative energy from last week and let it go. But I think he's brought back a little bit of vengeance for this week here in Toronto. He knows he let one slip away. He's not going to let another get by him.
Well, let's see. He's about ready to cross that Monster Energy finish line right about now. And what was the time? Woo, fast one, 59.6. Freezy at 1 minute, 0.1 rather. 1 point. There's Will Hahn now. Let's see if Will Hahn's going to get up on the horse and go.
Oh, he's on a horse right there. It's a bucking Bronco.
Yeah, he's not tripling that section. This isn't going to be a good lap time for him.
Good to know that Marvin Muskin has checked in here in practice number 2 after that crash in practice number 1. So a man who's on a 2-race winning streak had a nasty get-off in the rhythm section just before the finish jump. He is back out and back underway. There is Marvin Muskin just trailing Will Hahn. So on the track right now, it looks as it does in the points. Will Hahn with a 9-point advantage over the Red Bull KTM of Marvin Muskin.
Well, they just crossed the finish line. Let's see if they bumped up a little bit. Will Hahn still sitting in there, Marvin in 3rd, and Marvin Muskin in 4th. With Will Hahn a minute, 0.1, and Marvin Muskin a minute, 0.4, but still up front with a 59.6. Wharton.
And we haven't seen substantial change to this track throughout the break. So we're looking for nearly equal lap times to that first time around. What do you think, the Magician or Marvelous? What's the better nickname for the 25?
Well, I said the Magician on the interview, but I'm thinking Magic Marvin.
Magic Marvin, oh.
Magic Marvin. That was magical last week what he did. I mean, it was incredible. Come from last, and he had a gift, on that last lap with Wharton. He's probably cruising around in 2nd going, oh, well, not a bad ride. I'm going to work up, get 2nd. Will Hahn's behind me. I'm going to get a few points on him, but to get those 3 extra points, because if he didn't get it, he would be 12 down right now. But he's only 9 down.
Maybe one of those career-defining rides as Marvin reins it back in there on the end of the whoops. So Marvin Muskin saves what could have been a second crash there here in practice number 2. Will Hahn now fastest 58.913, followed by Blake Wharton with that 59.6. Then it's Marvin Muskin, 59.975. Everyone else, starting with Vince Friese, are off into the 1 minute plus.
Well, and you got to remember that after tonight in Toronto, there's only 3 more rounds. You got a weekend off, then you have Houston, you have Minneapolis, and then you got a couple more weeks off before you go to the final round in Las Vegas. So you got to tighten things up.
This is a rider to keep your eye on tonight, the 317 of Justin Hill. He has looked comfortable through all practices thus far, the untimed as well as the timed. Looked like he's been putting in some good laps for the rookie.
It just passes Will Hahn there. He's going to go up and over the Monster Energy finish line coming into that first turn there. A couple little double here, and he's going to triple in.
Just 2/10 off of his fastest time. Justin Hill currently sitting in 5th. 1 minute, 0.6. We're going to have to remember to make our picks here, Jim. I hope
this
people
is huge.
At home are having an opportunity to make some picks as well.
You know, when you come out of that corner to jump up to the step on, step off, that's a huge leap of faith right there. All these guys are nailing it.
An uncharacteristic season for Pro Circuit. Of course, Dean Wilson now out, having crashed out of the season last week with a variety of injuries.
Well, and if you go back to 2012, you saw Eli Tomac, you know, win that West in the 250 class, and out east you saw Justin Barcia. So Mitch Payton denied in the indoors last year, but he did win the outdoor in the 250 class with Blake Wharton. Not Blake Wharton, Blake Baggett.
Blake Baggett.
Excuse me.
Too many Blakes and Justins.
Yeah, excuse me, Blake Baggett.
Blake Baggett still recovering from wrist surgery. Expecting to see him back come outdoors. Will Hahn triples on and jumps off of that tabletop. Will Hahn put in a fast ride, fast lap here for the Geico Honda team.
Well, he's got a 59.9 now, so see if he can improve on that.
Will Hahn on the gas. Will it better his time?
Ooh, he whipped it.
Bettered his style, that's for sure. Last lap, 59.1. 2/10 off of that 58.9 that Will Hahn put down and currently leads practice and qualifying at #1 spot.
And I got to put my glasses on. I thought that was a 59.9. It's a 58.9.
58.9. 450s substantially faster than that first round. James Stewart fastest with a 57.6.
There's PJ Larson, number 69. Started out on a 450 this year, switched over to the 250 class.
It is an 1110 mods Yamaha for PJ, or Peter Larson, as he now is all of a sudden listed as here on our AMA rider entry forms.
He's matured now. He's a Peter.
He's Peter.
He's not PJ anymore.
You log a little time on the 450s and everyone counts you as being a little older.
So let's say when he rides the he came up a lot short on that one, saved it, and so much he kind of hurt his wrist a little bit. You see how he put his wrist up and kind of, that was a hard one for PJ Larson.
I thought he was giving the strong symbol to his mechanic, telling him I got it.
I
Okay.
don't know. I think it might have been a wrist jarring. He's had some wrist injuries. That's why I said that. But let's do this. When he's riding at 250, he's PJ. When he jumps back on the 450, we'll give him the credit. He's matured. He's on a bigger bike. He's Peter.
There you go.
Hope one of the guys down there. Only about 50 seconds to go in this A final time practice for the boys out here. Got to get it done. 194.
That's Jackson Richardson out of Australia, XPR Racing. Jackson Richardson, who had a good week last week, made everyone learn his name. I don't think a lot of people knew who the 194 was until last week. Ran strong in the heat races in Indianapolis. There's Vince Friese on the 42, another rider who had some 450 experience earlier this year, then stepped back to the 250s.
See, what's hurting Friese right now is that section he just went through. He didn't triple, or at least do the first triple, and he didn't do the come out of that corner and leap onto the step off and step on.
Vince Friese right now sitting in fourth with a 1 minute .1. Still best Will Hahn, unchanged there, the top three, Hahn, Wharton, Muskin. Followed by Friese, then Dakotas, Martin, Hill. You have four riders from fourth with Friese, Dakotas, Martin, and a Hill all in the 1 minute. 1 minute .1 to 1 minute .6. So throw a blanket over those guys. Will Hahn separating himself a bit with that 58.9. Now Blake Wharton with a 58.9. And Marvin Muskin 1 second off that with a 59.9. So Hahn and Wharton 1 second faster than Muskin.
There it is. Checker flag out. This one's over.
It's not over yet for Vince Friese.
Still on a fast lap. Let's see if he can do it. Here you go. Come on, Vince.
Still not doing the rhythm in that section, Jim.
He's going through the sand right now. Let's see what he does here. He's going to go to that outside and carry the momentum around. All eyes on Vince Friese right now, 42, to see if he can best his time and move up a little bit from that fourth.
Double, triple through there. Lots of options through that rhythm section. Around the outside berm, and Vince Friese remains in fourth. So that'll do it for 250 qualifying here in Toronto. Will Hahn, your top qualifier, with a 58.9. Blake Wharton, Marvin Muskin, Vince Friese, James Dakotas, Jeremy Martin, Justin Hill, Cole Thompson there in 8th, Pride of Canada, Gavin Faith in 9th, Lance Vincent in 10th, PJ Larson in 11th, and then Mitchell Oldenburg, AJ Cantanzero, Jackson Richardson, Kyle Peters, Zach Freeberg, Levi Kilbarger, Stephen Scuba Clark, and Zachary Bell. Zachary Bell was not out for that practice, did not register a time.
Yeah, no times. I'm not sure what happened to after the show. We'll have to go down and talk with the Geico guys and Honda over there and ask them what happened to Zachary Bell.
Welcome back into our studio location here, our palatial studio location here in Toronto inside the Rogers Center. Yeah, this is beautiful and comfortable. And Jim, with 250 practice concluded, we can probably start to think about our picks. We need to review last week's picks that we made. And we hope you're making picks at home. I know when I sat at home for Daytona, both my boys were making picks, and the wife, we all had them. And got to pick the podium for both the 450s and the 250s. Fun way to participate with your family. And if you were watching this program, you have a little bit more information than probably the rest of them. So make sure you put something on it. If they're putting Zach Bell up there on the podium, that might not be a good move, given that he did not come out for second practice, but they may not know that. Make them pick it before the heat races, too.
Yeah.
Right when the show starts. So last week, Jim, I had 19, 15, 25. That would be Hahn, Wilson, Muskin. Of course, Dean Wilson out.
Didn't ride.
But I did get 2.
Yeah.
On the podium.
How'd I do?
You had 15, 25, 19. So not that different. We both got them, but I think you were closer to the winner. I think we'll probably give you the go on that one.
All right. And Kevin Windham, he missed it, so he wasn't on the show, so we didn't get his picks. So we'll have to wait until he comes back to Supercross Live to get some picks from Kevin. But he's been struggling.
We have to figure out a way to get him fired from the night show. He's made the night program. You and I are still out here trying to qualify.
Yeah, we're qualifying.
Very good. All right, so this week, talk to me about the 250s. Will Hahn is our top qualifier. Blake Wharton in second. Marvin Muskin a second off. 1 crash. How are you going to parse this? Will there be a rookie or another first-time podium member that will step up, a la Jeremy Martin and Kyle Peters.
Yeah, I don't think any of the rookies will be up on that podium. I just don't think.
No Justin Hill.
No, I don't think Justin Hill. They'll be either 4th, 5th, 6th. They'll be battling around there, but I don't think. I'm going to go with, to redeem himself, I'm going to go with Wharton for the win.
Wharton for the win. Jim's calling Rockstar Energy Racing.
And I'm going to go with
25 or 19, right?
19-25.
19-25, 13-19.
Yeah, I just think that
25. Tough to pick against this group.
After last week, Will Hahn, he's got to derail Marvin Musquin. He's got to gain some more points towards that championship, and if he can do that, he'll have a good weekend off with Easter. But if Marvin beats him, then who knows? I mean, if things switch around and say, for instance, Marvin wins, and the number 13 can get in between there, and Will Hahn gets 3rd. That's 5 points. That means that 9-point lead went away to only 4-point lead, and that's a lot to think about on the Easter.
All right, I think I picked Magic Marvin to win a couple of times early on in the year, and he didn't come through. And now I haven't had him on the top spot. He's been coming through. I think he's motivated. I think he understands he has to get points on Will Hahn. Now is the time. Time's a wasting for this 250 East Championship. I think Marvin is going to be up in front. He's going to push it and get past. I'm going to pick Marvin for the win.
Okay.
So I'll put down the 25 there.
Even though he crashed. Pushing it. This is
understood.
You heard from Tony Alessi. This is a track that you can't push it on.
It's sketchy. Maybe I should listen to Tony. I'm going to take Marvin. I'll take the 25. Don't try and talk me out of it.
No, I'm not.
Okay. I mean, let me hang myself. Give me enough rope, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take the 25. And then in second place.
How much rope you need? We got a lot of cord. We got a lot of cord here. We got a lot of cord. This will be enough.
We have a kind of a knee-high wall right behind us. It's about 50 feet down, so it's an easy finish off for either one of us. All right, 25 to win. I'm going to go with Blake Wharton in second. I think Blake, again, is going to be fast. I like his vengeance. I like the idea of giving away or going out in the woods and just burning that off, getting rid of it, and then coming back. And
did he actually light a fire to get the smoke to burn it off, or?
Blake's a soulful guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see him out in the forest.
I didn't know, yeah.
Yeah, leaves and dancing.
Right, sure.
Yeah, some sort of ritual.
Getting the
definitely
mojo back.
Yeah.
It's not the 13.
Maybe he might be like Taylor Swift now.
Oh.
Because he's a musician.
Right.
All right. We have the magician and the musician. That's what I'm picking, magician and the musician.
Okay.
So now he has a song. He has some heartbreak. He has a song that he can write, a new one. So I'll take the magician and the musician.
Okay.
And I have to put Will Hahn in that next spot. I just don't. And quite honestly, we have the same 3 riders up front here. And I think a lot of people are going to have the same 3 riders up front with Dean Wilson gone out of that group. I think we've said it every week. Put it in whatever terms you want. Put them in a bag and shake them up. Throw a blanket over them, roll the dice, however you want to put it. Really, any random game of chance can influence the order of these 3, but I think everyone pretty much expects those 3 to be up front. Now I'm going to ask you, of the rookies,
who's going to do better this weekend?
Which one of the rookies do you think can step up and perhaps has the best chance to step onto that podium? I know you said you don't think they're going to get there, but who has the best chance?
I mean, Jeremy Martin, he's already had 1 podium.
And a couple of fourths.
Some fifths, I think I'm going to have to go with, it might be Hill's turn. Justin Hill. I think he would have the better opportunity. I mean, we should actually do a pick on which rookie is going to finish ahead of which rookie.
Yeah, that would be a good pick. So you have Hill right now. He actually sits 6th in points, ahead of Jeremy Martin.
Only because Jeremy crashed out last week, he told me on an interview.
Yeah, Jeremy actually had 16 points, so I guess a pair of fifths would be his
Right.
finishes, and that was in Atlanta and St. Louis. And then Daytona with the podium, and then 1 point last week in Indy.
I just think for Jeremy, this is a track where you can't push it, and if you get a bad start, and we always talk about it, putting yourself in a good position. Last week he didn't get a good start, and he put himself, and Lance Vincent hit a tough block, and it came out, and then he went down and didn't finish. He finished 20th. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to go with Hill, I think, out of those 2 rookies that we were talking about right there. you know, and who knows with Zach Bell, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go with, I think, a better finish tonight for the rookies would be Hill ahead of Jeremy Martin.
Yeah, I feel very good about the way Hill's riding today, although Martin, boy, he has shown not only speed but also comfort, it appears. Has that been your perception, being the former rider, that he has shown the speed, but he has done it in a way that doesn't look out of control, whereas Zach Bell, even when Zach Bell has not crashed, Zach Bell sometimes is looking a little ragged on the bike. It seems like Martin is a guy who looks more polished as a rookie.
Well, and I think
that speed.
I think he's in better shape, you know, because that proved it in Daytona, you know, to come up and finish third, you know, at Daytona for him. I think that was huge. The other thing is
Roger DeCoster there in the timing and scoring tower.
There next to him in the black hat, that's Mr. Parks. He supports a lot of privateers, gets them to the races and stuff. We're going to have to do an interview with Mr. Parks there. He said he got held up in customs. And I told him it was the black hat.
It was the hat, yeah.
Yeah, he looked like
dead giveaway.
Yeah,
it's a bad guy hat.
Right. He's the bad guy.
Well, I hate to see Zach Bell get dropped out of that group. When we talked about the rookies coming into this 250 East Series, it was always Bell, Hill, Martin.
Right.
But I feel like Bell's kind of fallen off that group.
And he didn't ride that last practice. We'll have to see what happens. Maybe he's not feeling good. Maybe he's sick or something. And you know, we see that happening a lot with guys. You know, they'll ride the first time practice and get a good time, and then they'll lay down and take a nap and relax and try to save their energy.
450 guys getting ready to come out here. And we have a good question from Twitter, Jim. It was from Richard. He says, what do you think Chad Reed's announcement will be?
Well, I see your name circled there also.
I have to answer this as well.
Right. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons. I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, I don't think, personally, I don't think he's going to retire. You know, maybe he's going to announce that he's got a new rider coming on board. Maybe he wants to test the waters with the second rider in the outdoors, and he's going to announce it in Supercross. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Richard, really the answer to this for me is I don't know what it is, but I would like it
Monday
to be that Team 22 Motorsports is going to have another rider.
Maybe Ellie's pregnant again.
Maybe.
That could
Maybe
be
it's
another
a
announcement.
non-motocross related thing. No, I'd like to see Team 22 continue and see Chad, no matter what his professional future is, but see him continue to participate as a team owner in this sport that he has been a part of for so long. So we'll have to wait and see. Chad Reed, big announcement coming up on Monday. There's Ryan Dungey, the 5. You saw his team manager, Roger DeCoster, in the timing and scoring tower, and he is there to watch his rider. Ryan Dungey near the front, laid down a fast lap right at the end, second only to James Stewart during that first practice session.
Uncharacteristic of Dungey not tripling that. They're just kind of rolling around, kind of checking things out, but he didn't triple it. You notice he looked over his head and made sure nobody was tripling behind him.
Is that perhaps indicative of the soil that we're seeing tonight in the track, that it is changing and maybe these riders are going a little slower in that first lap than they would normally?
It's been a while since they've been out there on the track, you know. I mean, they're just kind of, Ryan's one of those calculated guys. He's not going to go out there and pull the trigger on the first lap and, you know, try to lay down a fast lap. He's just going to go, you know, kind of check the course out that first lap, but now he's on it.
So while the 250A group practices were interesting with a few crashes, not too much going on with the 450s, just guys laying down laps.
That's step on, step off right there when they come out of that right-hander. Still intrigues me. I mean, there is no room for error up there. I mean, you have to land it perfectly.
There's the 46 of Weston Pike out of Wildomar, California. He's on the HyperX R2 MX Pro Ride Suzuki. Weston, a guy who's been up and down, but generally good results on the season. Had some great battles, as we mentioned. We had NFEB Tylube Yamaha manager Alan Brown up here with Bobby Canary from that team. Of course, the knockdown drag out for the last spot in the main there in Daytona. Perhaps the best race of the year, just on pure racing. Those two guys going over the start-finish line neck and neck. And Canary coming out ahead on transponder, but Pike being awarded the position based on visual inspection.
Yellow flag there. Someone stalled it coming out of the corner. I can't see. Does that look like Millsaps? Yep,
looks like Millsaps, yeah.
Stalled it, put his head down now, got some roost. Back up. Another rider you're not seeing out here tonight, as well as Trey Kennard. Trey Kennard sitting out this one, but also Eli Tomac. I saw him at the airport last week in Indianapolis, and he said, that's it. That's all I was scheduled to do. I was going to start in Atlanta and then finish up in Indianapolis, and I'm back on that 250 and getting ready for Seattle. That's the next time we'll see the West Coast guys start to battle.
Get back to that battle, and there is certainly a battle going on. Ken Roxon and Eli Tomac duking it out. Don't forget the likes of Cole Seeley. As that 250 West Coast will get back underway April 20th in Seattle. So they will race Seattle and then Salt Lake, and then of course we'll have the East-West shootout and both rounds concluding there in Las Vegas, both series, 250 East and 250 West.
Yeah.
Justin Brayton.
That's got to be nerve-wracking for those guys on there. You know, you still got your final round on the East and the West out there in Vegas, and then you got to get geared up and get ready for that East-West shootout. But 3 more rounds remaining for those West Coast boys, and like you said, Eli down there in second in the points to Ken Roxon.
Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/supercrosslive, and you can also hashtag Supercross Live on Instagram. Take some pictures while you're in the pits. Take some pictures while you're watching our program. How are you doing it? Do you have a computer? Are you streaming it to the TV somehow? Do you have your mobile device out and you have the app getting the lap times going? What are you doing to enjoy Supercross on a Saturday? Of course, live coverage here for us until 5 o'clock Eastern. Then at 5:30, the Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam Pit Party program will come on. First time ever. Get an opportunity to see what it's like to be a part of that championship.
There's Mike Alessi on that 800 Moto Concepts ride.
That World Finals happening at Sam Boyd Stadium, where we will finish up in just a few weeks' time. You know, Tony Alessi is on that headset right now above us here, probably in one of the press boxes, watching his rider, the 800.
A little different when you're a team manager and you're watching not only your team but also your son. It's got to be a little bit hard for Tony.
Update on the times. Justin Barcia, fastest, 57.5. So that actually is going to be a 1/10 of a second faster than James Stewart in the first session. Right behind him. So we'll have to go take it out now to the thousandths position, because Justin Barcia is a 57.533. Ryan Villopoto is a 57.537. Followed by James Stewart, 57.901. 3 riders in the 57s. And it's Ryan Dungey, Chad Reed in your top 5.
Jake Weimer going off the track there just before the sand section, and looks like Millsap stalled that Suzuki again in that same spot where he was earlier. Just fired up,
big puff of smoke.
I'm not sure why he keeps stalling it there in that corner like that.
Barcia, Villopoto, Stewart, Dungey, Reed, your top 5. Millsaps, Gerke, Tickle, Brayton, Albertson into the top 10. Then it's Alessi, Short, Hill, Pike, Weimer, Smith, and Canary.
Millsaps going into the mechanics area to talk to his mechanic about that bike. I'm not sure if he's going to stay in there, if he's going to come out, but mechanic frantically running around that motorcycle, kind of checking. Maybe something happened to it.
Just over 3 minutes remain, and Justin Barcia on the 51, throwing whips and laying down fast laps.
Yeah, and laying down on the track. Lost the front end going into that corner there, but he's trying to grab that clutch to keep it running, and does he? He does.
So a small tip over mistake just before the whoops for Justin Barcia. He's already put in the fast time, 57.5. Will that hold up, or will we see a late session charge from the likes of James Stewart or Ryan Dungey, notoriously fast finishers in these qualifying sessions?
Yeah, Stewart looks like he's just kind of cruising around right now, just trying to, you know, slow down and get behind the guy, because if he goes across the finish line, that's when it clicks. We'll see if he picks it back up. Here we go. James is going to get on a roll here. There he is, big roost coming off, laying it down, got the foot out, making that corner. Triple, double. That I haven't seen. That's something different. See if he triples. Yep. Comes out of here, hits his first one, jumps all the way over, boom, sticks it, doubles off of it, into the sand. Covering that inside, you see that? You don't want to leave that door open. He's on a fast lap right now.
James Stewart currently in third. The rider just ahead of him on this fast lap.
Oh, man, he just shut it down. I don't know why he did that. You know, a lot of times in that timing section, Kevin, we were talking about where they come in and they do 2 and then 3. You'll see them come up a little short. That's done on purpose to slow them down. Then they can do the double into the corner. Weston Pike hucking that triple.
James Stewart on that last lap still at 58.3. So you wonder, without that little hiccup at the end, could that have been the fast lap?
Yeah, I don't know. It just, I don't know why he shut it down. It was interesting. It's only 36 more seconds to go in this practice. We're trying to see where James is at on the track.
Ryan Villopoto just crossed the line. He will get another lap, as has Ryan Dungey and Josh Hill.
Josh Hill over jumping the finish line there.
And Davey Millsaps, who is back out with that bike that he stalled a couple of times during this session.
There's James Stewart. It's going into that timing section over there. Let's see if he's able to sneak one in here. You got about 9 seconds, James. He's got to cross that finish line before. Let's see if he does it. 1, 2, James is across it. And let's see what James can do this last lap.
James Stewart still active. One more opportunity to put in a fast lap. Ryan Villopoto well ahead of him. Going to finish up here shortly. Just a couple of more sections for the number 1 and our points leader. And currently the leader, 57.215. So 3/10 faster than Justin Barcia is Ryan Villopoto.
Yeah, and Stewart's on one, but he's catching a lot of lap guys ahead of him. A couple yellow flags are flying in that timing section only because the tough blocks are out. Let's see if Stewart, they pull him back in before Stewart gets to that point. There's a lot of lappers in James's way. He gets around a couple of them. The yellow flags are going. Will that slow James Stewart down now? He's looking over. He's coming. Get out of the way, boys. James is on a hot lap.
James still looking to put it ahead here. Slams into the last turn.
And he's second.
James Stewart, 57.429. His fastest lap of qualifying is his last.
Well,
so Ryan Villopoto, 57.215 is top qualifier.
And I'm going to tell you, that last lap for James Stewart, he had a lot of distractions coming up on a lot of lap riders that were in his way. Even though they moved out, it's still a distraction. That timing section where he goes in to make that left-hander, double, triple, double. There's yellow flags flying. He was still going for it. That was a good time for James Stewart.
Top 7 are inside of 1 second from each other. That's Villopoto, Stewart, Barcia, Millsaps, Brayton, Reed, and Dungey. That is from the 57.2 all the way to 58.2. They are followed by Brock Tickle, Matt Gerke, Jimmy Albertson, Michael Lessie, Andrew Short, Josh Hill, Weston Pike, Les Smith, Jake Weimer, and Bobby Canary. Canary up there at a 101.00. So the times there in that session range from 57.2 on up to 101. Nearly a 3-second difference. And right away, shotgun start for the 450B group in Ben LeMay. Just whole shot in practice.
Yeah, he went to the inside there.
Ben LeMay, a good rider to watch in this, as well as Phil Nicoletti and Chris Bloss, a pair of NFAB Tylube Yamaha riders. If you had an opportunity to catch up with Alan Brown, you know he is hard at work watching 2 of his riders in this session, having already put Bobby Canary into the night program in that A practice.
That's a big triple over there where you just saw Ben LeMay go over. That's huge.
Jim, what's the difference for a guy like Ben LeMay? He's riding a good bike at that Rock River Yamaha, and he's been kind of in that middle road. Occasionally makes a main, occasionally doesn't. If you're working with Ben LeMay, what are you on him about?
Well, you know, he's a great kid. I don't know, you know, I'm sure he's got a great work ethic. You know, I know Christina Denny and Chris over there at Rock River working, you know, to help this kid get into as many main events as he can. I see a lack of aggressiveness in those heat races. You know, when you're in a transfer spot, you're running 8th, and a guy comes up and passes the last lap, or you're 9th rather, the final spot, and a guy passes you. I mean, you got to fight back.
He's been in 3 main events this year.
Yeah, you got to run it in. You absolutely do not want to be in that last chance race. I mean, you have to look at that heat race. It is the last chance. You know, and if you don't make it, yeah, of course you're going to go to the last chance. But you know, in the starts, I mean, you got to get good starts. You got to put yourself in a good position. A lot of times we've seen in the last chance race, doesn't get a good start, and you don't have the laps to work with. You only have 6 laps in that last chance race. So, I mean, you know, you get a couple more laps in the heat race, and what I mean by that is you get 8, and they take the top 9. So, I think just a little more fight out of Ben I'd like to see, because, I mean, I know the equipment and the team and everything, they're better than only 3 main events out there. I mean, at least over half of them they got to be in. A couple of them you're maybe going to have some problems or whatever, you're not feeling it, but for only 3 main events, you know, you got to start putting the rides in now. And tonight might be, you know, tonight for sure, Kevin, as I beat you on the knee, tonight for sure, because I got my fist clenched as we see, that looks like Sipes going down there in his Kawasaki 64. But for sure, as I'm hammering this down, because Trey Kennard is not here and Eli Tomac is not here, that opens up 2 more spots. Definitely Ben LeMay should be in that main event tonight. We got some picks, Kevin.
Okay, people sending in their picks.
And
you can send in your picks as well if you hashtag Supercross Live or SX on Speed. Send in your podium.
I just got a text from Devin Davis, and he is picking 13, 19, 25.
13, 19, and 25. Well, same guys. He agrees with you, Jim. Devin Davis taking the same road as Jim Holley. Seems like a pretty good road to take.
A lot of ramming going on here with these boys. Mechanics, the riders go by 7. Oh, hang on, 718. That's who is that?
Schneider.
Schneider.
Yep, 718. That's Matt Schneider out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Spider Energy drink rider.
Lost
our good guy Alex Ray also on that team, still recovering from injury sustained earlier in the year. As Phil Nicoletti leads here at 450B with a 1 minute flat, all the way out to .062. Then it's Justin Sipes, Cody Gilmore, followed by Ronnie Stewart, RSR Racing. Ben LeMay, Chris Blows. Oh, Dustin Pipes, whose left side is apparently okay from that spill in the first session. The 181 steps up into 6. So Pipes, Blows, Oswald, Winterstrom, Akaiden, your top 10.
Sipes losing the front end again. Actually, the rear end came away from there. He came out of that berm and lost the rear end there.
Jim, I was just going back to last year to look at the points. And Ben LeMay last year made 1 main, so he's already increased his output from last year in Supercross, but I think he had a pretty good outdoors. Showed some serious promise, so he's already made more mains than last year.
Well, that's a plus. I mean, you're moving in the right direction, but I know Ben LeMay is a better rider than that.
And in a tougher field, mind you, with everyone helping.
But do you agree with me tonight? With Kennard and Eli Tomac, there's 2 more spots. He should definitely be in the main event tonight.
And definitely, it's going to get even harder. You and I were doing the math last week, having talked to some of the folks over there at Red Bull KTM, saying that Ken Roczen must step up next year based on the rules the way they are now. I believe it's 3 years consecutive scoring over 100 points.
Right.
That you must move up to the 450s. A similar situation had affected actually the champion a couple of years ago. Brock Tickle had to move up after having been the champion of that series, of that championship. So I think it gets even more crowded next year. We were doing the math that something around 14 or 15 spots are taken by a lot of the big names that you feel like can win races.
And that leaves only, 6 guys in the privateer ranks to get into that. There's a lot of riders in there. I mean, Alan Brown's got 3 of those guys right there we can name off. And then you got the LeMays, and you have
Los, Nicoletti.
The Peter Larson.
Peter Larson.
He might move up, it's going to get harder for sure next year.
About 3 minutes left in this session. Let's go ahead and give you an MMI tech tip. I want to give you more information about your motorcycle. It's a quick one. We'll be right back here on Supercross Live with qualifying, but listen in. You might learn something from Motorcycle Mechanics Institute.
Hi, today's MMI Tech Tip is about gearing. If you take a big sprocket, you put it on the back, it actually gives you more bottom end power. The only problem is you can shorten up the gearing too much, so we have a lot of choices in the truck. You have a smaller sprocket, actually gives you more top end power. The one that makes the right choice, gets the best lap time, and wins the race. So there's your MMI Tech Tip for today.
That was your tech tip brought to you by Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. Remember that McGrath scholarship's still out there, $20,000. All you have to do is upload a video of you doing something creative to get noticed by the champ, Jeremy McGrath. He will, in fact, pick an individual who he feels is going to demonstrate excellence in the classroom and later in a new career. Oh, Ben LeMay coming up a little bit short there on that triple-triple, but saved it nicely.
That's all right. I like it. He's pushing it out there. I like it.
YouTube.com/McGrath Scholarship is the place you want to enter. Be sure to tell Jeremy why you should win and what you're going to do with your education.
He's on a hot lap. That's why he had to case it. He had to work through it. He's on a hot lap. Let's see if he can bump himself up, because right now he's sitting 7th. I bet you the Dunlop guys are busy today. A lot of the guys going, man, how to lose that rear wheel? How to lose that front end? They're scrambling around to try to get traction tonight.
Well, nice finish turn there by Ben LeMay, sticking it into that right-hander. He does move up to 5th. Fastest lap so far for Ben, 102.245.
Right behind him,
right behind him is the 329. That's Chad Gores out of Anaheim. California Coast Plumbers and Tokyo Mods Honda.
Yeah, that sand's, you know what creates that is when the guys come in, and because when they start out, that sand section entering into that right-hander is smooth. So when they go in and they go in braking, the rear wheel is braking and pulling that dirt up. Then when they let off the rear brake, that creates a little hump. So that's why you're seeing those little humps going into that corner there, and that's going to be hard tonight when it comes main event time. They're going to be searching out there for some different lines in the sand.
So that's how you get braking bumps and then acceleration bumps. A similar thing, throwing the roost back.
That's a good time for, moved up a little bit, Gore.
Yeah, Gore's moved up to 14th, and time has expired. Checkered flag coming out right now. So the checkered flag waving. If you are on a lap right now, you have one last opportunity to put down a fast time. Chris Blows is in that group as he continues to go through the whoops. Riders finishing out at 7:18 of Matt Schneider. Last few corners here for Ben LeMay. Looks like he's just going to coast it out. So when no one steps up, he will be in 5th. at 102.2. Still a couple of riders trying to step up. That's Dustin Pipes right there.
Yeah, come on, Dustin. Let's get that thing going.
Ronnie Stewart getting out of the racing line there, allowing Pipes by.
Pipes down in that 9th position. Let's see if this last lap might propel him up a couple more positions. There it is. Move up. Not the same.
Dustin Pipes remains in 9th. That last lap, just about a half second slower than his best effort.
Yeah, he was looking over at that leaderboard to see if he snuck into that top 5, but not quite.
So 450 qualifying is complete. Phil Nicoletti, your top qualifier, followed by Chris Blos, then Justin Sipes, Cody Gilmore, then Ben LeMay, and then Stewart, Oswald, Entignap, Pipes, Wennerstrom, Akaiden, Schneider, Greco, Gores, Stryker, Fowler, Vonlinger, Hicks, and Schlatt.
All right, who you picking?
Okay, here we go. Let's review last week, Jim, because I don't want to forget about last week. You picked 141.21. It was a Honda opportunity for you.
Yeah, I blew it.
I picked 157.
Wait, who did I pick to win, though?
You picked 1. You got the 1.
I got the 1. Okay.
You got the 1.
I got the 1. All right, that's
I
cool.
went 157, which I think if I go check the results, that worked out for me.
That was you hit a home run. You're a gold medalist now.
There we go. I couldn't do it actually on the court. I have to do it here, picking the podium. Good. All right, let's get our picks in right quick. It is 5 o'clock. You know you have the Monster Jam, Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam World Finals coming up. Just a half hour's time, a little less than half hour's time. The pit party going to be great at the NGK stage out there. All kinds of rider interviews and stuff. Pardon me, driver interviews and former champion interviews happening out there, as well as competitions. But let's get to the picks. Jim, am I going first? You going first?
I was going to say go Gravedigger.
I'll take Monster Mutt.
All right, there you go.
All right, there's our picks for that. How about picks for here tonight?
I'm going to go with the 1. I think
Taking the 1 again.
I think he's going to win another one. I just have that feeling. I think 1. 1. God, I don't know if Barsha is going to. 151.7.
151.7. So 3 colors for you. Tricolor on the podium.
Right.
I'm going to take the 7. I think the 7 feels like he gave one away last week. I think he takes it this week.
All right.
And then it's a tough pick after that. I'm gonna take the 1 and the 5 to battle it out again. So same podium, different order.
All right, there you go. That's good.
Should be a great night here in Toronto. We hope that you've enjoyed our program here, Supercross Live. Remember, next week is Easter, so don't be sitting in front of your computer while everyone else is enjoying Easter dinner.
Yeah, they're probably hunting for eggs. But, hey, we got to give a shout-out to Michael, man. I think he did a great job, as well as Steven, Bad Billy over there, our producer, Ryan, and don't forget our number 1 camera guy, Dave Arnold.
Dave Arnold doing some hard work, bringing you the action every weekend here. Big thanks to all of our crew. And remember, it's just under a half hour's time. You can watch the Advanced Auto Parts Monster Jam World Finals Pit Party. And all you have to do is take yourself to monsterjam.com/monsterjamlive, and you can check it out. Maybe a preview of what you will see if you get an opportunity to go to one of those events. Of course, they follow many of the Supercross events, so it's a great opportunity to get the kids out, watch some trucks, crush some cars. It's a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun here. We still have the AMSOIL podium interviews coming up after the race, as well as the post-race wrap-up. We hope you enjoy the coverage live on Speed, 7:30 Eastern tonight of Monster Energy Supercross from Toronto. I'm Kevin. He's Jim. We'll see you in 2 weeks.